but I was there from 1 until 9.
Good evening and welcome to the special meeting of the Putnam County Legislature. Called by the clerk at the request of the chairwoman. It's April 28th, 2025. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Birmingham, Julius, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing, and Legislator Crowley will lead us in legislative prayer.
We seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality.
Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery.
Here.
District 2, Legislator Goldman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adonisio.
Here.
District 4, Legislator Russo. District 5, Legislator Elner.
Here.
District 6, Legislator Yonke. District 7, Legislator Birmingham.
Here.
District 9, Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 8, Chairwoman Sage.
Present. Thank you. Before us tonight, agenda item number 4 is a reconsideration for inclusion of parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District, specifically Ridge Ranch, located in the town of Carmel.
Patterson.
Oh, I'm looking at it. Thank you. Town of Patterson. I will start by making a motion. We have 2 resolutions before us. We've got 4A and 4B. I'm going to start with 4A, and I will begin by making a motion to approve Resolution 4A, which is inclusion of parcels in Putnam County Agricultural District.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Legislator Crowley.
I think it's really important that we take a look at this tonight and we really realize that there was a mistake on the table, and we open our eyes to this issue and we continue to move forward with bettering our agricultural district and the way we do things and the way we look at things moving forward. And I am happy to see this on here, appreciative of the special that was called. Thank you, Chairwoman. And I'm excited to vote yes for this.
Legislator Adonisio.
Thank you. As we all know, there has been a significant victory for the agricultural community. Nearly 2 decades ago, a county law was passed that placed restrictive and outdated soil requirements on agricultural applications in Putnam County. The Supreme Court of Putnam has ruled this law irrational. In Justice Grossman's words, he found this soil requirement to be arbitrary and capricious. I attempted to bring the matter forward to a committee for discussion at one point, but however, I was advised by the law department not to proceed due to pending litigation. With the court's ruling, it's now our opportunity to vacate the outdated law and reconsider Ridge Ranch to be included in the Ag District. And I'm proud to support them this evening.
Anyone else have comments? Legislator Birmingham.
Yeah, I'm going to be supporting this as well tonight. Obviously, for the last 4 months, I had to remain silent because of, as Tony had said, there was litigation. I did read and observe with interest last year when I was attending a lot of these meetings, the discussion that was had and the question I also had about the soil requirements. Having said that, I'm the only one among us who was on the legislature back in 2007 when that was passed 18 years ago, and at this late date I can't remember why that was put in there. But to be fair, I was still in high school at the time. So, but I am glad to see that this is coming forward. I am going to be an enthusiastic supporter of this resolution tonight. And I do believe we, as I'm sure we all can all agree, we probably need to revisit that resolution, that almost 20-year-old resolution, and perhaps in some other areas as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that and working with our colleagues in the public to make a lot of that happen. Thank you.
Legislator Elner.
Back in August of last year, there was a meeting on the books to address and solve all these issues. Unfortunately, because of the litigation and the advice of the law department saying don't meet, we couldn't do it. This is something that has taken a very, very long time, and unfortunately some people may have been hurt because of this. So I look forward to getting this right and to finally having that meeting.
Legislator Montgomery.
I'm happy to move this forward. I would like to apologize to the Hanoviches and to the farmers of Putnam County. It didn't have to go this way. If we look back to that December 2024 Physical Services meeting, I made a lot of my statements then and I stood by them. I have full respect for our county law department. They've helped me in a lot of ways. I've had a lot of lawyers in my lifetime and I don't always listen to them. And I don't believe that we had to. We could have moved forward with county policy regarding the agricultural districts. You know, and this legislature's been proven to not listen to the law department during other issues. So I don't buy the law department issue, and I'm grateful to the public for coming out night after night, and I know it's a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I truly apologize. We have a lot of work to do in the county and on the legislature to make this right, still ahead of us. Thank you.
Anyone else? Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm glad that we're talking about this today. Back in last summer, when we put this to a vote, I was one of three that basically said, put this through. And my argument was, how can we have a soil requirement when, in many ways, you can change the soil very quickly by putting this in, by putting that in. You can change the soil for whatever product that is being grown. And also, my argument at that time was there was a horse farm trying to come into Putnam Valley, and it was like, what does the soil have to do with horses or, livestock? Nothing at all. So I'm glad we're doing this, and I will be supporting this. And please, you got a few more days for the farmers in Putnam County. If you haven't put your application in yet, please put it in, and I'm sure it's going to be looked at much differently this year than it has been in the past.
Thank you. I would like to agree. I will certainly be supporting 4A. I think one good thing came out of it. We have a really good discussion. I really appreciate the openness and discussion. We got to hear from a lot of farmers and their passion. I thought it was, I was on the Ag Board for, 6 years. And that was something that I had not seen. So I'm glad we have a resolution at this time, and with that, I will recognize Legislator Russo. You just arrived. We're discussing. I just want to make it available to you if you wanted to make a comment on Resolution 4A. Okay. So just to be clear, we're voting on the approval for the inclusion of parcels in Putnam County Agricultural District. Agenda item 4A. Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adenizio.
With pleasure, yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Absolutely.
Legislator Elner.
Yes.
Legislator Gouldman.
Yes.
Legislator Yonke. Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
With that, I will make a motion.
Through the chair.
Hi.
Yes, thank you. I have other business, if I may. Thank you.
Oh, can I would like to remove this.
Oh, okay, sure.
So just to be clear, I want to make a motion to remove agenda item 4B, which is approval for the denial of parcels.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we do not have other business at the full, so
I'm
I will.
proposing it now. Thank you.
Well, I'm not gonna accept other business at the full. I mean, if this is a special full, we don't.
That's okay. I have other business and you're shutting me down. The state legislature ends their session on June 13th. That's 46 days, only 34 business days, until we have to sit down and work together to come up with a solution for the sales tax. And with that, I would
I'm not
like
gonna
to
discuss
propose the
sales
sales
tax at
tax
the special
revenue
fall.
to
This is a
increase,
one item
extend
only.
the sales
No.
tax to 1%.
I'm gonna make a motion to
Second.
adjourn.
There's a second
Is there a
on the
second?
table and there's a motion.
I didn't accept in other business.
Chairwoman?
We're talking
You
about
have-
a
you
totally
have-
different.
You have 34 days to
This
do
is a
this.
totally different
Point of privilege?
subject.
Are you gonna call,
This is
are you
for-
gonna call a special meeting after special meeting that's meaningless?
Was not
You're gonna pull these people out night after night?
I'm gonna call to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I
Thank
vote
you.
no. You're gonna call the vote properly? I vote no to adjourn. Anybody else?
Anyone else opposed?
No.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Yes,
But I noticed there is a difference between the two costs. One's $2,800.
Yes.
One, and
Because one was
445.
delinquent longer, so it depends on how long the
Okay.
town allows them to be delinquent. One was delinquent for longer,
Okay.
and the other one, and they decided to go tackle it this year,
Okay.
and so there was different amounts and.
And these amounts will go on the re-levy next year?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay.
And that's just for both of these?
Yes, they were just
Two
same
different properties.
mistake,
Yes, it's fixed.
but different amounts.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions regarding items 16 or 17? Excuse me, 16 or 17?
But we'll do one at a time,
One at a time, right.
maybe public.
So, okay, so I will make a motion to approve agenda item number 16, which is approval of taxes for the town of Carmel for Facinelli.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And we will go on to agenda item number 17, which is the same type of a correction.
Exactly the same, just different dollar amount.
Okay, so it's a different property, a different amount. So this is for approval for correction of taxes for the Home Source Inc., Vasquez, for the town of Carmel. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you,
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
appreciate it. I would also like to also move out of order and allow our, Board of Elections, Kathy Croft and Kelly Primavera, agenda item number 14, I'll move that one up.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're looking at agenda item number 14.
Be my guest.
Welcome. Get that in front of me.
You want to accept the additional? Can you accept an additional, please?
Oh, do you have additional?
Yeah, it's just a view of the website.
Sure, absolutely, I'll make a motion to accept
Sorry.
additional.
I'll second that for item 14.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Hi.
how are you?
So, this is just a view of the website that we already have enhanced voting through the state at no charge when we have state or federal elections on. They don't charge us. And they do, well, and
Well,
state supreme too.
Yeah, what it does is it takes, we have our absentees are with one vendor, and our election day results are with another vendor. So it combines them so that we don't have to do the adding at the end of the night, and it puts the results up on our website. This is, if we purchase it ourselves, it's a very, I don't know.
Intuitive.
It's like the Rolls Royce
yeah.
of enhanced voting.
It's very intuitive that the results at the end of the night, it'll tell you that everything is in. It'll tell you what the results are by the actual districts. It'll give us tons more reports than what we have instantly.
Yeah. So, and these are 3 different screenshots I took. I went to Livingston County. Dutchess also uses it, Orange also uses it. And there were I tried to give 3 different views of the same election.
Is this, this is what we would find on our,
On our website, yes.
so that the voter could go log in
Yep.
and this is what they would see?
There's a link already there that for the results we use now, but this is gonna be much more intuitive to the voter, to candidates, to everybody.
And it's a flat rate every year. It's 16.5, no matter how many elections we have.
Okay, and 16.5 for every year?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a licensing software. Okay, does anyone have questions?
And I'd suggest if you want to see it in action, go to the link at the top.
Livingston County?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, and you can just play around with it. See
And you
if
can go to
like it.
Orange, you can go to Dutchess and just go for election results, because it's all there on their websites also. Kathy just happened to like this one the best.
Yeah, okay. Anyone on the committee? Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, I have to thank you. I'm really excited about this, and I know it's been very cumbersome for the person who has to manually do this, so
Oh, yeah.
that saves a lot of
Yeah.
time and effort. I was using this, the 2024 election at Dutchess Orange, you know, following every county nearby, and no offense, I was like,
Yeah.
God, Putnam doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So it's really great to use, it's really,
Well, sometimes the commissioners in Putnam are cheap,
yeah.
because
Oh, I
it's
just have
not
to
our
thank
money.
you.
It's not
It's a lot of money, but it's very useful. You guys will love it, I promise you.
Yeah, the map is intuitive, so it'll show you, you know.
It's great for everybody, the public, it's good for candidates, it's good for,
And it will be a little bit different for the primary, because the primary we're consolidating, so it's not gonna
It'll be the consolidation.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a unique ballot style for every election district, which it always is for the general.
so thank you. I just want to say thank
And
you.
this is a 4-year agreement, I see, and
Yes.
backup, and
Yeah.
for a total of $66,000 that's paid annually, I guess, 16,500.
16.5, yeah.
Legislator Elder, did you have a?
I just want to confirm this is going to make life easier for you when the
It will.
people at board election.
Well, for us, yes, but
Yeah.
also for the public.
And my
One, two,
deputy is the one that, I don't know whether anybody here has ever foiled for the Excel spreadsheet. Well, actually, when you look at the results on the website, that's all hand done. Andrea
Andrea
inputs that.
inputs it, and then
Yeah.
we are also verifying all of that too.
So,
So it takes
it's
days,
cumbersome.
sometimes even weeks to do it.
And it's open to human error.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say, that limits human error because it goes, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. Legislator Crowley.
I don't know if this is fitting or not, but I'm gonna ask it. Also for the school elections?
No.
Nope, okay, just figured I'd ask.
We
because
only provide,
The machines for the
machines.
school, okay,
That is it.
just figured I'd ask
Yeah.
in case it came up so we'd have an answer, so, thank you.
Okay, so this is to sign, I guess I'll pick a motion to sign. In a second.
Second.
Absolutely.
well, it's
All in
also
favor?
to transfer.
Transfer,
We're
yeah,
transferring
transfer
money.
16,000.
Yes, it's a sign, I'm
Okay.
signing it to transfer the
Oh,
16,000
okay, thank you.
to licensing from other equipment, and there's zero fiscal impact, just so
Right.
that everybody knows. All in favor, do we do that? Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you for moving us up.
Okay, so let me get myself in order here.
Good night. You don't want to stay?
Thank you.
Moving back to 5A, which is an FYI. 5A is a overtime report. Any questions or comments? Moving on, that's an FYI. Moving on to 4B. 4B is
5B.
Oh, 5B, thank you. 5B is an approval for a budgetary amendment for finance for year-end geometry, number 4. Did you want to download
Yeah, this is
a
just
bit?
another bookkeeping, final, it better be a final year-end entry because we're about 75% done with our audit. So this is a result of them being on site the last few weeks. So just wanted to get it in so that by the May full, they have it and they can put this in the financial statements.
Okay, this is to balance the books. Anyone from the committee? Any legislators? Anyone from the public? Okay, so I will make a motion to approve 5B. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5C is an approval for a budgetary amendment for the sheriff for other equipment for education and training. This was also reviewed in protective services. This is in the amount of $9,000. There's zero fiscal impact. Any questions or comments in the committee? Any other legislators? Anyone from the public? I'll make a motion to approve 5C. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to 5D. We have an approval for budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Department for an insurance recovery, which was also reviewed and protected. This is insurance recoveries that's being used to repair Sheriff's Narcotics Automotive. This is in the amount of $18,679.53. There's zero fiscal impact. Any discussion on the committee? Any other legislators? Anyone from the public? I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
5E is an approval for budgetary amendment for personnel for transfer of payroll and fringes from the health department to DPW. We have an employee transfer from one department to the next, and we're just simply moving their salary and fringes to their new department. Any questions or comments on the committee? Any legislators? Anyone from the public? I'll make an motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's see, we're looking at 5F. Approval for budgetary amendment, 25A 031 for the district attorney's office. This is a discovery grant funding pretrial reform. This is the amount of, let's see, we have several different line items here.
Maybe the Commissioner could explain.
Yep,
Yeah,
hold
would
on.
you like to bring us up to date?
Yes. So, in the 2025 budget, the DA had put in approximately $150,000. So this budgetary is just grossing up the full amount. If you look in your detail, the total of the grant is $262,192. So it's just the incremental difference from the 150 to this. And they were able to provide what, if you look at page 3, which is what they needed to submit to the agency of how they're going to spend these monies.
Okay. So I did have one change on this. The bonuses are still going to be there, but we're going to move those into a sub-contingency line. When the transfers are ready to be made to these particular bonuses, then we'll move them out of the sub-contingency line and into the correct lines.
You're making a
Is that
motion.
correct?
You have to make a motion.
I will make a motion to move.
Have discussion?
I haven't made a motion yet.
Public comment?
I have. I'm just gonna make the motion that we can discuss.
Before we discuss this, Mike, on the attachment, I see that there's a police department involved here for $17,500 of
Yes.
Kent PD. Yeah, and that, and I'll be recusing myself from a future vote tonight as well. As I've explained before, my firm is a counsel to one of the three actually municipalities in Putnam County, one of which is Kent. So on this vote here, I'm going to recuse myself. And this isn't the entire grant though, is it? We could split that up if we needed to, couldn't we? Go to that at committee. For instance, I'm looking here, there's a couple of appropriations, increase estimated revenue, state aid to criminal justice discovery. The two at the bottom there on the front page.
Right.
98,692.
So that additional 98,000, I apologize, that additional 98,000 is going to go to the DA, and the difference of that 17.5 is going to the sheriff.
Okay. Is any of this resolution before us touching the town of Kent in any way?
Yes, that would be part of the partnership initiative.
So on that grounds, I'm going to step out until this
Okay.
matter is decided.
I don't even see a resolution.
Well, if you take a look at the backup, there's a grid that the Kent PD.
I see that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
that's the problem.
Okay, thanks. Somebody will get me when we're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I will make a motion to move 56, the DA Personal Services Merit Bonuses in the amount of 56,597 and the amount 4,330 into sub-contingency line 1019900054931, and the total amount of $60,927. This is done, well, I'll make the motion and then we can discuss if you'd like to second or not.
Why are you
The-
I'd like to understand why you're making the motion to separate it out.
Because the item needs to go into sub-contingency like we do with all of our grant monies. For example, we had our social services come in last month with grant monies to go into bonuses for salaries. It has to go into the actual salary line before, this is not going into a salary line, it's just going into a lump sum. So what we're doing is putting it, once the amounts are distributed, maybe our auditor can explain it a little better. Michelle, can you explain this?
Right, usually you approve things by line, so personnel line, you have a personnel line and it would say a number. Right here, it's being put into one lump sum. Once this would be approved, the district attorney has approval to go and provide bonuses to his employees, but you wouldn't know and you wouldn't be able to approve who he's giving them the bonuses.
So I guess I have a question. When other departments, with other elected officials, and I'm going to use, sorry, Sheriff, no offense, when the sheriff gets grants, you know, we often, thank God, our department heads and our elected officials write grants. I'm so thankful for that. It's really important. But when he writes a grant and like BES writes a grant every year, if the 33% is just divvied up and then they don't come back to us every single time they want to spend money out of that grant.
But they put them into the personnel lines, and we know what personnel lines they're going into. This, we don't know. And if we also have other items on our agenda tonight that are shuffling around grant monies because they put them in the wrong personnel lines. We had a department head come in last month, our Commissioner of Social Services come in to move money into, for bonuses for their employees. They have to go into a budget line, not just into a pot.
But then do they have to come back to us and ask for permission each time that they want to?
Well, they send the transfer over, and then we just transfer it over. We don't have any discretion. This gives the DA all the discretion to put the money wherever he wishes, but we release the money at the time when he has if you have the budget lines tonight, we can do it tonight.
So I think it's important to know that once the check is received, we have 60 days to release these funds or else we lose them. And if they reapply next year, it becomes problematic of getting a grant again, which, Mike, can you speak to that being true? Or
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the detail of that. Refer to the DA on this.
So I think, you know, I have no problem transferring it over to a line, but I think that, I don't necessarily agree with, if we're transferring it over to a personnel line and then they have purview to do what they need to over that and they don't have to come back to us through committee, I'm good with that, but I don't feel that they should have to come back again because other departments don't have to do that.
They all have to come back. Yes, they do. Go ahead.
Through the chair, I was just gonna say, I mean, the way this is being presented, you know, with this 999 is just strictly giving the DA the ability after the May fall to do what they call these RPCs. To my knowledge, he started the evaluations, he hasn't even allocated anything yet or determined who he wants to give this to. But it would just give him the opportunity to move as quickly as possible to get the money to these individuals.
I mean, the RPCs are, tell me what an RPC is.
I don't know I know they're a personnel action form.
Personnel action form.
So if he wanted to give an ADA $5,000, he would fill out that RPC, would go to personnel, then when it ultimately gets signed off, go to our payroll supervisor, and then that person will get the check.
So that's the procedure. So in 60 days, once I don't know when they're gonna receive the check. My concern is the 60 days, use it or lose it, right? And also, you know, these department heads write grants all the time, which I'm thankful for. They don't have any incentive to do it if we're gonna lose it. So that scares me a little bit. Just wanna make sure.
Is that a fact that we're gonna lose this grant if we
don't
transfer
spend
this
it in 60
into,
days.
if we transfer this into?
We don't spend it in 60 days after we get it.
But so moving it into sub-contingency, we wouldn't have the ability to spend the money within 60 days? That's one.
If you put it into sub-contingency, then
I mean, it's
the
just,
DA
it's in a bank account with the DA's name on it. We can
So
move that.
assuming that the DA would be able to come up with his recommendations to the committee, you're already looking at the June fall. They would
Yeah,
have to
this
go
is
to,
the first
they
time
would
I've
have to go
heard
to
60
May
days.
personnel, explain who they're gonna give it to, and then,
That's my concern.
Is that, I mean, I didn't see that in the backup, I didn't look at 60 days, I didn't see that
What I,
in the grant application.
through the chair,
That's it, okay.
I don't, we're stuck on the 60 days, I don't know if we can bring the DA
Yeah.
up, if he would like to
I'd
speak
love to.
on it. That, I think that would be in
Sure.
our best interest, but I also think that it's stated in our backup that 60 days following the end of the term, the county executive will collaborate with all of the agencies involved and report on the additional discovery reform tracking funds spent to date. So that will be reported to us. There is
Yeah.
a line item
I agree.
stated in our backup, 999. We don't need another line item in the budget. It's kind of clear to me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna support the motion to separate. I think because of the 60-day, use it or lose it makes me very nervous. It doesn't incentivize people to write these grants, and I'm concerned about losing it, if pushing it out till, pushing out further.
When was this grant issued? I mean, I see a
We should
date.
be getting the check any day now, so 60 days from receiving the grant.
That's, Madam Chair, on the grant award notice, the second to last paragraph, if I may read it, the county shall subsequently and promptly make this funding available to the recipient agencies, e.g. DA, probation department, sheriff's offices, local police department, within 60 days of receipt. So the clock does start ticking.
Yep, okay. So I think it's important that we award it to them, because they did write the grant, and it's a grant.
I mean, I understand, and I'm thankful for that, and I think it's important. Can you state our policy on these types of transfers? Or is there a policy in place? Because I know it's standard that that's how we work with these grants. We have to know where the money's actually going.
Have a line item for it.
We don't have if you look at our backup, we don't.
999.
Yeah.
If I may,
So
Madam
the-
Chair,
We have a
invite
list
the
of
DA up to the
eligible,
dais.
11 employees that it can go to.
But that's,
If you just put a dollar amount in all of these items, I mean,
well, this was the project budget that was submitted to the DGS. So, I mean, it's up to the DA at that particular point to divvy up that money accordingly.
If you want to be accountable, that's what you're trying to.
we're trying to make it accountable, yeah, so
can
that
we
we know where
call
the
in the
money goes.
district, the
If
district?
the legislature is fine with that, then
Anybody want to hear from me?
I was just asking if we could call in the district attorney.
Because I'm here.
yeah. Yeah, I thought I called you.
So a little background is necessary here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm nervous.
First, before I get into the main part of the 60 days issue, toward the end of March, I met with the county executive and Mr. Lewis, and we discussed proper ways of using this money that's come into us as a result of grants that my office wrote, which take a long time to write. It was discussed with the county executive and Mr. Lewis that one proper and easy way to do it, and the fastest way to do it, and there's a reason why speed is important. The fastest way to do it is to put it in a 999 line. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
And that we would therefore be able to submit an RPC to personnel and have the money drawn from that. An RPC is a public document. Everybody gets to see it. There's no lack of accountability. And by the way, RPCs are done in this county all the time.
I don't think RPCs come before the legislature, do they? I've not seen one here.
No, I didn't say that.
We don't have them before the legislature.
I said RPCs are done all the time. The legislature has every right to find out or ask what RPC I submitted and to get copies of it. So there's transparency. I don't know why my RPCs would be different from anybody else's RPCs. They're perfectly legal. And in fact, the county executive and the commissioner of finance not only said it was perfectly legal and a speedy way to do it, I then came before you on April 8th. And we had this discussion with the full legislative body. And unless I'm mistaken,
It's unanimous.
it seemed to me as if the entire legislature agreed that that was the best way to do it. And I walked out thinking, great, now I can start moving on this, and I don't gotta worry about the time period, which I will now get to. Once the money comes in, I have to submit a very detailed report to the state within 60 days as to what I'm going to do with the money, and that I have the money. It's gonna take me, I've finished 2 of the reports. It's taken me almost a week to finish 2 reports. If I have to keep coming back before the legislature every time I want to dole out a bonus, I'm not going to get it done in 60 days. I can tell you that right now. It's not going to happen. In case you haven't been aware of it, we're really busy downstairs. All right? And I love all you guys. You do a great job. But I don't have time to come here and say, I need permission for this person. I need permission for that person. I just don't have time to do it. And I don't know why, if you get to see the RPC anyway, what do you think I'm doing? Putting money under the table? What do you think I'm doing with the money?
It's the procedure. We don't see the RPCs, those
You
don't.
can if you want to. I'll send you
Okay, so-
copies.
Why don't we
Chair?
include something in the resolution where that states you'll submit the
I have no problem with
Through the
that.
chair.
monthly?
I mean, if we don't use the funding, we risk losing it. The office wrote the grant. They wrote the grant. We have the money.
I
It doesn't,
understand.
please. They wrote the grant. Time is of the essence. It is very important. And you know what? Not all of these things do come before us. And yes, there are tons of times where we transfer things to a general personnel line and then it's drawn from. So I'm not going to be supporting separating this out. I think that our DA's office works very hard. I think that they're
I
held
also agree.
to a different standard at times. And I remember the last time they spoke, everybody on this legislature was in full support of this. GA Tenney had already come to us. Everybody was in full support. We were thankful. Now he is about to get the grant. The people that work there, I was at a DA meeting this past week. Everybody's having retention issues, morale issues. They don't have the time to keep up with discovery and everything else. We're lucky enough to have the people that we have. Let's reward them. It doesn't cost them anything. I am in full support of keeping this as it is and not separating it and approving this today.
I would like to ask the Commissioner of Finance a question. And if the question's improper or off base, let me know. Is there anything financially improper about doing this to a 999 RPC procedure?
No.
Thank you.
Can we hear from our auditor, from the legislature? Is there, what would be the
Usually,
difference?
The difference is, again, when you vote on the 999, it's like having, I don't want to say the word, but it's like a blank sum of money, and you don't know, he can give it to one person, you don't know the accountability, so you don't know each person's budget line, which bonus everybody's getting, so it's more accountability to you because you approve the funding, so that's what.
No, the state approved the funding.
No, but the
No, it's-
legislature approves it to put in the budget line.
Well, they're not gonna send it back to the state. Of course they're gonna approve it.
Well,
The state sent us a
but
pile of
they
money.
have a right to see
I've put in
what they're
almost $1
voting
million
on.
over the past 4 years, and I've always gotta come hat in hand to ask you for a pittance for it.
So what can we do?
We have
So-
grant funding
Right, do you have a-
for other
do you have-
departments all the time, and we always have to account for each line where the budget
None
line
of
is
those
going.
people are
And
dealing
if
with
there's a
the discovery
mistake, then we
laws.
have to re-put it back in there. This is accountability to the legislature and our auditing, and for our tracking at the legislature. I mean, it's, you have access to the money. The money is yours to
Correct.
divvy up as you see fit. You keep all the money in your accounts.
I have to submit a
certainly-
report to the state anyway, a detailed report as to who's getting what money and why. That's,
But you don't have to report to the legislature who's getting money and what, and why?
of course I do, I'm gonna fill out an RPC and send it to
The
personnel, it's a county
RPC doesn't
document.
come here, the RPC is not in.
So I
the
come here and I
legislature.
ask you for money.
That's a personnel
Okay,
piece of paper, that's not to the legislature. It's like we have a checkbook here and we have to know where these items are going to. We
we
can't
don't
just,
have the votes to separate it,
But-
so.
May I ask some questions, please?
we're
through
trying
the
to get
chair?
information. Yes, go ahead, legislator
You have
Montgomery.
to submit to the state.
Yes.
And, when and how often?
Within 60 days of receipt of the money.
Okay, can we just make part of the resolution that we receive that state report? And maybe our auditor has some suggestions
I have no
on
problem with
a
that.
mechanism for accountability in this process.
Well, I would think, I'm sorry, if the district attorney has the list now, that you can incorporate it into the resolution.
And we have that list now and incorporate it into the resolution.
I haven't finished the list yet, that's.
Will it be finished by the May full meeting?
Not severe, he loses the money.
I suppose, I just have
By the
I
May
have
vote,
an
we could
issue.
have- we could
Here's-
have it done
here's-
and-
let
and
me
we
just
could
get to
put
the
it in
root
that
here.
night.
Can I,
And maybe this is improper, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I watch my employees, my management employees work every single day, every single night, every single weekend, on their vacations, and round the clock. I know what they deserve as far as a retention bonus. I should not have to come here, pardon me for saying this, I don't see why I have to come here to ask you for permission to give my employees, who you know nothing about, the money that the state sent to me as a result of a grant that I wrote, when I can just do it through an RPC, and you can have all the information you want. You might not all be here one day, and some legislators may say, you know what, you're not getting it. Then what do? I'm stuck. And so are my employees, and you know we've had, every DA's office has had massive turnover, because nobody's getting paid enough, and they're overworked. And I wrote a grant to help my employees out, and now I have to come here and ask you if I can use the grant?
Absolutely not. We understand how hard you guys work, and we want you to have all the money. It's just the accounting for the legislature. That's all. That's all we're talking about is accounting. Nobody's taking it from you. Nobody wants to move it around.
But you
No
can if you
time,
want
but
to.
it's
Because I have to ask
It's all
permission.
being moved into your lines with your name next to it.
Commissioner
That's
Lewis,
there.
how many other departments have RPCs like this? Can you name a couple?
I mean, maybe just the Department of Social Services.
Department of
Just the-
Social Services too, so
to my
that was
understanding.
okay. That
That went
wasn't,
into, but that went into employees' budget lines. That they actually.
Because at the
that had
time,
employee
at the
budget lines.
time, Commissioner Servadino, she knew who she was.
she knew, so right, so.
But to be fair to the DA, he's still writing he's only got
Right.
2.
And he's got.
But he has
but
up until May
Did
3rd.
Commissioner Servadio have 60 days to do hers, the same thing?
I don't know that.
Was there a time frame? Because I don't ever
There might
remember her
be.
discussing that there was a time was of the essence. That is
This
my
one- this
concern
one
with
is.
this, and that's the only reason why I'm disagreeing with this, because time is of the essence. I think if it's reported back to us, and it's a grant, and honestly, I feel like we're de-incentivizing anybody to write a grant at this point. If there's 60 days, there's 60 days to get it done. He reports back to Mike Lewis, to everybody else. I don't understand.
If I may, through the chair, can I ask
Legislator
another
Montgomery.
question? You have to have this reported by the 3rd? That's
No, I have to report it
May
within 60 days of receipt of the money.
May 30th. Okay.
Well, it might, no, we don't have, the money hasn't come yet, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday.
60 days from May 30th.
And it's the
Yeah.
first time they're
60 days
asking
from
for a
May
report
30th.
of this nature, and I have to make sure it's very detailed.
And
Because I don't want
I
to
mean,
lose
is it
the money
possible
next
that we
year.
can,
And
Whichever
then,
comes
if
first.
I may finish,
Yes,
and
go ahead,
so
Mr. Montgomery.
we will get that report when you submit it to the state.
Sure.
And then we can do this non-pro-tunc at the June legislative full meeting. So I would suggest that you move to do this tonight, and we'll get our information. You
That
know, I
makes
think we
sense.
can do that,
I
and we'll
think
get
we're
the
talking
information
just
we
two
need.
different
to do
budget
the
lines.
vote.
I don't know what the difference is as far as timing when we have,
Well,
We're
if it's.
going from one budget line to the next budget line. What is the timeline on that? Why would it be
Because
so much different?
because if you put it into sub-contingency, then the DA would have to come back in May to ask for that money.
Yes,
And then wouldn't have access to it until June.
right.
Doing it this way, he would at least have access to it on May, give or take, May 5th, or whatever it's gonna be, sooner, and then he can start writing
And then we
RPCs.
approve a resolution at the June full.
So
I'm
But
not sure.
but
how that
nevertheless,
works.
he's
I mean,
gonna have to report it to the state, because they're getting very stringent on the
Yeah.
reporting. They're not gonna just give out
I
free
have to
money.
report this to the state. There's gonna be full transparency here. What I don't like, and I'm sorry to say, I just don't like it. I don't think anybody here should have the right to tell me what I think my employees deserve. If you want to be an ADA for 5 weeks, fine, then you have the right to do it. But if you're not gonna sit there and watch 100 hours of video on one case, and do thousands of pages of discovery, and take calls at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning, if you're not gonna do that, don't tell me how I should give the money to my employees. Because the way we're doing it now, I can come before you, and if somebody's got something up there, you know what, you can say, no, you can't have it.
So
You can't have your money.
I
And
make
know
a
that.
motion.
I understand that you're a department head, and I appreciate
No, he's
everything
an
you do.
elected
You're an
official.
elected official, I understand, and you have a staff. And I would never tell you how to run your department, but the Putnam County Legislature is responsible for the checkbook and for the purse strings, and that's where our, that's what our job is. So I'm just looking out for our job here at the legislature. I don't wanna step on your toes or tell you what to do or
But by
diminish
doing this, you
your
can tell me
department
what
in
to
any way,
do.
shape, or form. I think you guys are superstars. I mean, I can't say enough good things about what you guys do, and
I think we should move this
constraints.
forward to the full and then let it vote on the full, because the clock starts ticking. I mean, legislator Elner pointed out whichever comes first, correct? So it's either the 30th or the check. So if it's moved to the full, then it can be hashed out there. And DA Tunde, do you think you can have a list by this, the 6th
Of what?
of May?
The
You think-
6th of May? No
Yeah.
way.
No?
No, not possible.
Okay. So then, can you have it, so you have 60 days, so it's gotta be done by June.
Yeah, I can do that.
So can we can put it till, the June full, put it on the June full. But he doesn't have to do that. I mean, it's going to the full anyway. I agree that all of this should be approved and moved to the full.
So
He has
who's gonna
60
vote?
days.
So,
But 3 weeks ago,
I mean,
everybody
that's
said
what
this
I
is
was-
fine.
I agree. We did all say it was fine.
And now I'm back again.
that's all I was saying, was to put it into the sub-contingency
Yeah, I agree with
report.
you. And I make a motion to move to the full.
If we move it to sub-contingency, it goes to the May full, and then during the time you're deliberating, we'll transfer the money over, and you just give us the lines. I don't know
I make a motion to
what the
accept as
difference
is.
is.
If you're gonna do that, fine. I can't stop you. If you're gonna do it, if I get what I want from my, I'm not getting any of this. If I get what I want from my employees to retain them, that's what I want.
That's what we want.
But if
We want that for
I
you as
don't
well.
need, I'm
I
talking
make a
to you as an
motion
elected
to
official now.
accept as
I don't
is.
need people who don't know what's going on in my office telling me what should be going on
Nobody's
in my
gonna tell you
office.
what to do. That's not the
There's a
purpose.
motion on the
Purpose
floor.
I
is
have a
just-
motion on the floor to accept as is.
I'm not gonna second that. I really want documentation for the
It was
legislature.
legislative Birmingham, you should.
He
do this.
can't,
On this?
he refuses, so it fails, because
Because Kent
This
is,
is only involving my office.
it doesn't matter, it's can't, he said, because it can't be split.
He can vote on the bonuses if we split it out.
He just said he couldn't, he just
Why not?
left
Doesn't
because it
about
was.
Kent.
No, he can,
The grant.
So then,
No, but if you-
we
no, we're talking
we talked about making
Okay,
asking for
let's
permission
say-
to
Same
split
agenda.
that question.
Well,
We can-
since you're in
Withdraw.
interest, take
I'm in
consent
we
right.
can
with
move,
the legislators that are here.
we can move, he can vote on the bonuses.
I thought he said he couldn't, and that's why he left, he
If
asked if
we
he could
s-
split the question.
Because Kent was
That's what I'm
involved.
trying to say. We could split the question where we split out the bonuses into one.
He asked that before. He asked Commissioner Lewis, didn't he ask you that? If you could split the question?
Can he
And you
do
said
that?
no because it was all coming from the same grant?
Correct.
Right, so he already asked that question in the beginning, so if you'd like to ask him again, you can, but
Okay.
that was clear.
All right, let's just,
So I'd like to make a motion again to move this to the full and let everybody weigh in on it, and it doesn't hurt anybody. And if you, at that point, you have more people to deliberate and vote on it. There's no harm, no foul. You can table it and move it back if you want, but there's no harm in moving it to the full as it is, because the clock is ticking.
I will start working on the forms, which I also had to invent. And I'll get working on it as soon as I
I
can.
mean, it's certain,
Through the chair.
legislator Anizio.
DA, I think that you do have concern that maybe some people would vote against what you're proposing.
Anybody here, but.
No,
what
no,
can you
no,
do
I'm
for
saying,
you?
I'm saying at the full, but we fully support you, and you did come to us the last time, and we all supported you. I don't see anybody voting against you, I'm just saying, speaking
No.
for myself, and I don't think anybody here would.
I don't think
So
so
I think
either.
that's what, I think that you're concerned that it's possible that it could happen.
That is a concern,
But
but
you
it's
would have
also,
the 5 votes,
I'm not concerned about this group here. I'm concerned about precedent for future groups. And if people in this county don't think things get political, you haven't been paying
Okay.
attention.
I would also be concerned about precedent, because we have these grants all the time with different department heads. And at what point are we gonna have to say, you know, the legislature has to know where this money is going. We don't wanna start a precedent with other grants and other department heads.
With all due
I mean,
respect,
it's
Ms.
not,
Sage, you know where
it's
the
not to
money's
diminish
going.
you or your decision-making in any way, shape, or form. It's
Everybody
just-
knows where the money's going.
It's just, but when you'll see further on in our agenda, we have the exact same item, where we have to move grant money to match with salaries that are appropriated to that
This isn't
certain
going into a
grant. I mean, that's
salary.
just how it is.
This is going into
We
a
do it
salary.
all the
it's
time.
not.
These are
This
one-time
is a one-time
bonuses.
bonus,
It's
yeah,
It's
that
like,
we
it's
all
like a
said okay.
stipend for being on call, that's on our PC. There's no difference.
We just passed opioid settlement funds that are one-time bonus for social services that we had to account for what
So we're gonna
budget
lose
line
this
these are
money.
going into.
We're gonna lose this money if we
We
don't.
take,
everything
we
is
take
not
grant
a
money and we put it
sky
into
is falling.
stipends for my staff. That's all RPCs. What's the difference? It's grant money, it's going into an RPC.
And it's gonna be reported on.
Of course it is.
Legislator Goldman, did you have
Thank you, Chairwoman.
a?
Two people, you never come up with a decision here. One thinks one way and one thinks another way. Take a consensus of the legislators that are here and then make that decision and either change it or not change it.
If it goes to the full and you guys decide that individually they don't wanna vote for it or change it, then they can change it. But
We
there's
could be
no
here for 3 hours
problem
and I
moving it
discuss
out of, moving it out of committee tonight because the clock is ticking, and then let everybody weigh in on it. It's not a big deal. We do it all the time. We move it out of committee, it gets bounced back from the full.
I've seen things that are not even finished move out of committee. Talk about the farming resolution in December 2024.
I don't want to keep this money from you, and I want you to spend it however you so need. But I also want to do the right thing for the legislature. So I'm torn, but I'll make a motion to move it as is written on the, oh my gosh, in front of me, on Budgetary Amendment 25A-031.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you for your time and your
Thank you.
patience. And not throwing things at me, I appreciate it.
Good.
Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item 5G. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Sorry.
Hey, Mike, one talk you after the meeting about this. Okay.
Okay, 5G is a budgetary amendment, 25A-034, to approve Department of Social Services funding from the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance to provide shelter assistance. This was also reviewed in health. This is in the amount of $13,837. There's zero fiscal impact. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee? No? Any other legislator? Anyone from the public? I'll make a motion to approve 5G. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 6. This is for a signature. This is for an approval for budgetary transfer 25P071 for emergency services. This is for temporary to move dispatch into temporary line in the amount of $15,000. We're transferring money from BES dispatch temporary line to the BES temporary budget line. Is necessary due to upcoming retirements of the Bureau administrative staff. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding agenda item number 6?
Congratulations to whoever's retiring. Thank you for their service.
Any questions or comments from the committee? The legislature or the public? I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 6.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, that's a sign.
Oh, sign.
Sorry, I'll sign that. Okay, excuse me. Agenda item number 7 is an approval for a fund transfer for 25T073. This is for corrections February overtime. It's also reviewed in personnel. This is in the amount of $42,116 to cover February overtime costs. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any legislator? Legislator Elmer?
If I may direct to the sheriff. Sheriff, are we still short-staffed over here?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and I have to throw it in here, and one of the reasons that we're short-staffed is because of the cost of the medical plan, based on the salary, that it's not very much of an incentive for people to fill the position?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 7. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda item number 8 is also a fund transfer for the Sheriff's Department for corrections for January overtime. This was also reviewed in personnel. The amount in total here is $51,769. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any other legislator? From the public? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And agenda item number 9. That is also an approval for the Sheriff's Department corrections. This is for March overtime. This was also reviewed in personnel. This is in the amount of $44,220. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any other legislator? Public? I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And item number 10. This is for signature. I don't know if we have our historian here with us this evening. This is for the amount of $10,000. We're transferring it from our temporary line into contracts. This is for funds for presenters, for reenactors, for the Historians Pavilion at the Putnam County Fair in 2025. There's zero fiscal impact. Any questions or comments from the committee? Any other legislators? Mr. Montgomery?
Who are the presenters and the reenactors? There's no backup.
That's
Yeah, that's right.
correct. And she's not here tonight. I thought our historian would be here tonight to talk about this.
I can get that.
They're in Zoom to discuss the 250th anniversary, and that's what this money's for.
It's for
Yeah, it's for the
presenters
250th
and-
anniversary.
Yeah,
This is
I
for-
only know that because
We
Sherry's
need to
the
know- I would-
president of our historian, and they're there.
We just want
We just
Yeah,
don't
I
know
would
who
say
this is.
considering what we just went through with the,
Yeah.
We don't know who
Putnam
this is
County
for.
Arts Council and spent the same amount of money, and we went through a half a
Right,
year
but
of.
I know that's for the presenters for the 250th anniversary.
Sure, we need to know who they are.
This is for signature.
Yeah. Well, could the audit
How do
committee, could the audit committee please get a list of who the presenters and reenactors are before they call?
Absolutely. I was
Thank
gonna
you.
ask our auditor, can we get that before I sign this? That we can, so I'll make a motion.
No disrespect, it's just precedent, we just went through this, it took a half a year to
So
get the
can
same
I-
amount of money out for the Putnam Arts
I'm
Council.
gonna ask that we vote to sign this, and then I'll provide a list of the presenters. I'll have our historian send us some backup on this, because I thought she was gonna be here tonight.
It's okay.
So
As long as you have it by the fall, I'm fine with that.
do you need a vote or no?
Yeah, I
Just
will
a
make a
sign?
vote to sign, and before I sign, I will make sure that we have that information. So I'll make a motion to sign.
Table for the poll?
What?
It's not going to the
It's not a
Okay.
reso.
Okay.
It's just
Yes,
a
just
signature.
a sign.
As a transfer, there's zero fiscal
So
impact,
when
but we
does it
should
need
know
to be
what it is.
transferred by? Is there
Why
time?
don't we do this? Why don't we, typically, the way this would work is this would only go as far as the audit committee to authorize our chair to sign something. In light of what Nancy's saying, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. You know, the historian will get us what we need. Maybe we could hold this until the fall, and then ask you to, then have
Oh,
that.
to sign?
Yeah, then have a
Can we-
resolution at that point
Okay.
to sign. Nancy makes a good point, and again, I don't think it's gonna be a controversial item, it's just.
Right, just like to know what it
Yeah.
is, yeah.
If
Yeah.
I may direct to council. Based on the form here, the amount, $10,000, the chairman should just be able to sign without a resolution and without a vote. That's the authority.
She said she could.
just
So I'm
wants to
saying,
get the
Dan, there's
backup.
no reason to have a resolution.
Well,
It's just a
Well,
signature.
We want the information.
if I could, I think our chair suggested that instead of just signing it, she asked this board, or this
Provide
committee.
the backup for everyone.
Right,
I'd like to see it myself.
But
I
I'm
don't-
saying, as soon as you get the backup, it doesn't have to be at a meeting, you can just sign it.
I would say that's inconsiderate of my question, because I would like to know what it is.
Oh, I
and we
agree,
could see
Nancy,
it
I'm
at
just
full.
saying,
Yeah, it
when
would
that
be-
comes, if you wanna see it at the full, then Nancy, you're correct.
Thanks.
So I would defer to our auditor, can we just put this on the full, just to sign?
You could put it on the phone.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, just to sign.
that's what I thought, just to,
Okay, so at this time, I'm just gonna table this to the full.
there you go.
Second.
And this is
All
no
in favor?
disrespect to the historian's office, they do a
Not at all.
fantastic job.
Not at all, I'm excited to hear about this project as well. Okay, so we're gonna table that to the full. Moving on to agenda item number 11, which is a fund transfer for the district attorney's office to reclassify the principal office assistant. This was also reviewed in personnel. There was a personnel audit, and we're reclassifying the senior office assistant to principal office assistant. There is zero fiscal impact, it's a change of the reclassification of the position. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments from any of the other legislators? Anyone from the public? Okay, so I will make a motion to approve agenda item number 11. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to agenda item number 12. This is an approval for a fund transfer for the health department. This is to correct salary and fringe. That was also reviewed in personnel. This is to correctly reflect salary and fringe. We're just moving items around, just moving it around to reflect the changes. There's simple, zero fiscal impact. Any questions or comments? Legislator Putnam?
Just, this is also part of filling a non-competitive environmental health aid position, and as I stated at the personnel meeting, I think it was, the other meeting, whichever it was, these positions, I mean, I know it just shows how understaffed and overworked our county departments are. This position in particular directly affects our municipalities, our public who are applying for permits and applications, and I personally have been involved with constituents calling me and saying, you know, come on, my funding, my contractor is based on this permit. So I'd really like to see this moving forward and to fill all of our positions that are vacant. And get us up
Absolutely.
and running.
And we are having a career fair, so I hope everyone can check out our career fair so we can fill some of these positions. Anyone from the public wishing to comment? Right, with that, I will make a motion to approve agenda item number 12. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 13, is an approval for senior resources. This is to correct budget lines to align with the grant. This is also reviewed in personnel. This is to correct previous budget transfers that were entered, and to reallocate salaries to correct the budget lines so they align with the grant in which they're assigned. This was, again, discussed in personnel. Any questions or comments from the committee? Anyone from the legislature? Anyone from the public? Make a motion to approve agenda item number 13. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we reviewed agenda item 14. We'll move on to agenda item number 15. This is the NYCLASS merger with NYLAF, and I think our commissioner can probably fill us in pretty well on this one, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's just it's a formality. July 1st of 2025, NYCLASS will be merging with NYLAF. So going from 2 investment pools to now 1. They both have the competitive rates. But this is just a formality. They have asked us if we're going to continue with them, which we will, just to have this in their permanent file. So they need a resolution by this legislature.
Okay, so we're not changing anything, we're just recognizing the merger.
We're recognizing the merger, and ultimately, and we'll be able to report support this, but, you know, as of June 30th, whatever those cash balances are, they're gonna be moved over to NYCLASS.
And you do have a balance here listed in the cover sheet, is that the balance that we're talking about?
That was just to give, you know, informational, because as of March 31st, there's approximately 10.5 million that we have with NYLAF.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? From any of the legislature or from the public? Make a motion to approve agenda item number 15. Is there a second? Second. Okay, moving on to agenda item number. I'm sorry.
We didn't vote on that.
Oh, we didn't vote. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to agenda item number 18. 18 is a semi-annual mortgage tax report for April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. This is something that we do twice a year.
Correct.
And these are the mortgage tax payments to each of our towns and villages. I don't know if you want me to read them all. Town of Carmel is $486,067.97. The town of Kent is $217,380.76. The town of Patterson is $154,269.39. Village of Cold Spring is $12,744.08. Village of Nelsonville, $3,604.86. Towns outside of those villages is $151,836.90. Putnam Valley is $172,159.40. Village of Brewster, this is within the town of Southeast. The Village of Brewster is $7,241.41. Town outside is $238,811.41 for a total of our mortgage tax apportionment payments is $1,444,116.18.
Great. Yeah, although this is ministerial, Mike, I'm correct that these are monies that just go to the municipalities. I'm going to be abstaining from this vote because of those municipalities that are for 100%.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? From any of the legislators or from the public? So I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 18. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
And one abstention.
And one abstention. All right. Agenda item number 19. This is an approval for to establish a petty cash account for the DPW. This is in the amount of $500. This is just to establish a petty cash for our county parks so that they can make cash at the windows. I don't see anybody here from DPW. Do you want to expand on that at all?
I think
It's pretty basic.
Yeah, it's pretty
They only
self-explanatory.
accept credit card, I think, inside the building.
Yeah, so it's $500. Legislative
Yeah, just a quick question, and I'll be voting in favor of this. Mike, does this dovetail nicely with the audit the state controller did a few months ago, where he identified certain areas?
Correct.
So that this is consistent with that?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll,
No, just to be clear, this is for the Putnam County Veterans Memorial Park.
Yes. Yes, this is for Putnam County Memorial Park, right. Any other questions or comments from the public? I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 19. Have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 20.
On this matter, I'll step out as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just 20 is the, yes. Again, just for the public's edification, broken record here, my firm represents 3 of the municipalities, or has had legal relationship with 3 of the municipalities in Putnam County, the Village of Cold Spring, the Village of Brewster, and the Town of Kent. So I don't think it would be appropriate for me to participate in these discussions. So again, I'll step out. And Beth, do you mind taking that? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to explore we have a discussion / approval for the establishment of a county fund balance surplus sharing program with our towns and villages of Putnam County for the year 2025. We've learned earlier this evening, and of course we all know how up and down sales tax is. It's difficult for anyone to budget based on sales tax. And I thought it'd be better for the towns and villages, if we're planning on sharing money, for them to be able to budget on a fixed amount, so they know exactly how much they're gonna get, instead of having to depend upon sales tax, which goes up and down. In this particular, and this is up for discussion tonight, of course, and I certainly appreciate everybody's input on this. I'm suggesting surplus sharing amount of $3 million to be split based on our 2020 United States Census. I'd like to also accept other business, or excuse me, additional tonight. We have additional, which breaks that down into an allocation per town. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I've said all along that I am not in favor of linking sharing of county funds based on sales tax. I think those are two separate items. I think we can, if we want to share with our towns, and I think there's a good amount of us who are really interested in that, and of course we've heard from our public. I think it would be prudent to base that on a fixed amount so that they know exactly what they're going to get. And so I will open that up for discussion. Is there any discussion from the committee?
Sure.
Legislator Crowley.
Thank you. Sorry, I wrote this. It's a little lengthy. I first took office in January of 2023. Since that time, I've sought to embrace multiple opportunities to forge strategic partnerships with our towns and villages in order to improve the quality of life for our residents. In 2023, this legislature rejected a proposal to create a new program that would have assisted our towns and villages financially to forge those new partnerships. The municipal partnership program was proposed in the 2024 tentative budget, which would have required participation from both executive and legislative branches. It was initially set to be funded at $250,000, but it was ultimately eliminated in favor of property tax reduction. You can imagine to my surprise that now we're being presented with a proposal to spend $3 million, 12 times more than the previously proposed program, in surplus funding to support all of our towns and villages. That said, I want to be clear. I welcome the news and express appreciation to my colleagues in county government who are now doing more to acknowledge the important work of our colleagues at the town and village levels. However, it should be noted that the proposal we have before us is in no way diminishes or replaces my strong support and advocacy for the sales tax sharing compromise presented to this legislature by all towns, villages, and the county executive. Following our special meeting last week, I reviewed the state legislation submitted, and I concede, unfortunately Legislator Birmingham was correct, in the initial state bill did not specify the sharing agreement in the bill text. However, I am pleased to announce that after conferring with our counterparts in the state legislature, there are now both Assembly and Senate bills which have been amended to reflect the sharing agreement. The sales tax sharing agreement, which extends the existing rate, not a tax increase, provides a more sustainable revenue stream to support our county, town, and village governments and better positions us to provide more meaningful tax relief to all. Again, that said, the tax sharing compromise did not and does not provide any direct support for our towns and villages this year, which is why I personally believe we should consider the matter before us as a one-shot to help our municipalities in 2025. But I do have some questions about the implementation of the plan before us. So I guess I'll start with who wrote this resolution. You did, okay. So my first question is, $3 million is a lot of taxpayer funds. We traditionally appropriate this level of spending through the budget process. Is it not more appropriate for us to do it then after receive the findings from the county's independent auditors?
This is out for discussion tonight. I'm going by our excessive fund balance, the amount of $90 million. It would be similar to what we have right now for our outside agencies, where we put the money aside. And we ask the towns when they bring a project to the county, and then we release those funds. Maybe there's opportunity at that time when we release those funds to have an MOU. You know, if a particular town has a piece of equipment or something, maybe there's an opportunity for. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. maybe it's an opportunity at that point to have an MOU, you know, where we can share equipment, with the towns and the county.
Okay.
And this just gives money up front. And like I said,
I
if you read any of the
still-
tax reports from the state, it's really difficult to budget based on sales tax, because sales tax is up and down. As you can see tonight, our sales tax is down. I don't know how you get a solid number from sales tax when it's always changing. For me, this was my, my stab at giving something solid and concrete to the towns that they can actually use in budgeting going forward. Legislator
Can I
Anizio.
finish?
Thank you.
I had
no idea you were
Nope, I had a couple
something.
questions, I'm sorry. Thank you. So question number 2 was, were any of the town and village officials or our finance commissioner, our master of coin, that's your new name, consulted before this resolution was introduced and placed on the agenda?
I did, yes.
Yes.
Is this gonna be a grilling? I mean.
No, but I wanna talk about it,
Of
and that's what
course
discussion is, so this came up, and I wanna talk about it, so I think it's fair.
Is there, I mean, what are your questions or comments
My
regarding?
comments are regarding, I have questions that I wanna ask that I think are appropriate, because they're procedural questions. We're throwing this out there, I support the towns, but they told us what they wanted, every single one of them told us what they wanted, and instead we're coming up with a new plan, I don't know why. I mean, again, if our colleagues refuse to support the state legislation introduced that extends the existing sales tax, forcing it to drop to 3%, losing 25% of our sales tax revenue, or approximately 22 million, how can we be expected to execute this plan? Like, we haven't even agreed upon the sales tax yet. And I'm pleased to see the ARPA language from the 22 share the growth expenditure was not cited, as that was nightmarish compliance issues, yet this proposal still seems to have a considerable amount of red tape that could hinder its effectiveness. Red tape that makes this proposal less sustainable than the other sales tax sharing alternative, and highlights its temporary nature as a one-shot. I would like to be walked through how these dollars are appropriated, and what would happen if a town was made a material change to a project. Would they have to come back to the committee, to the full legislature like they did with ARPA? Who manages the IMAs? I think it would be wise for us to address the concerns I've outlined in the full before this is measured and passed, and would entertain a motion to table this matter so we can have these issues reviewed.
So, we're discussing this tonight, I'm not gonna table something and not discuss it. I think it's a good idea to talk about it.
Sure.
And some of this language was also taken out of the sales tax.
Share the growth.
No, this was taken out of the county executive sales tax, as far as how it should be allocated towards projects on public infrastructure, capital improvements, essential services, and they should not be used for salary or payroll. That was taken directly from the
Right.
sales tax. Legislator Anizio, I know you had a question
Yes.
or comment.
Legislator Crowley mentioned, why wasn't this brought forward during the budget process? And that was my initial question, why wasn't it brought forward in the budget process by our county executive? But I'd like to amend this draft resolution and propose an allocation of $5 million per year for 2 years. This is coming from the county's fund balance to support our municipalities in Putnam County. And just to be clear, this funding that I am proposing is not tied to sales tax revenues. What was before the towns from the county executive is 1/9 of 1%. And as you stated, we don't know how that's going to fluctuate, so there's not a clear number there. And this $5 million allocation has been done before by the previous administration. These funds would be distributed proportionately based on population and demonstrated need, focusing on upgrading critical infrastructure, enhancing public safety, and supporting local projects. Quick math. The proposal for 1/9 of 1%, I'm just going to say Putnam Valley, the 1/9 allocation would be $293,333 a year, and with the $5 million proposal, it would be $600,000 a year. And given the long-term benefits to our communities, I strongly recommend this proposal be approved, and it be this year, for 2025, and this will ensure that our municipalities have sustained resources to meet the needs of their residents. They came and spoke last week, we heard what they wanted, and I don't see why it has to be tied to anything but our fund balance, which we have $90 million in our fund balance right now. Somebody mentioned Kathleen Foley, Mayor, you mentioned that we're hoarding the money. We don't want to hoard the money, okay? We want to give it out.
Fantastic. Is it a one-time shot? Or
No,
is it
2 years. I'm saying 2 years.
2 years.
We'll take the checks tonight.
Legislator
All in
Ellen.
favor? I thought long and hard with this, and I actually made some tweaks. And I did not put in the amount, but I agree with the 5 million. But the tweak that I had is, I want to see this for 2025 and 2026.
Well, that's what I said, 2 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying is I even
Oh,
have some corrections,
Okay.
which, depending on how this discussion was going to go, people would like to take a look at it as an additional, but the key to this is, it's a finite amount. It's gonna be $5 million. So we're not gonna be regarding sales tax. And Mayor Foley, you had mentioned something, I said that there was some overspending, et cetera, okay, which I wanted to see cut. There's also something that right now, at the end of 2024, and the auditors are gonna come in with this, we're gonna have unspent between $8 and $12 million from last year. And the commissioner is saying, so the effects of this are gonna be minimal. So we're gonna get back $8 to $12 million from fiscal 2024. So 5 million for 2025 and 5 million for 2026. I think that's a very fair proposal. To those town supervisors who've spoken with me, I appreciate it. And to all the other town supervisors, I'm always open to talk. The other thing which it says in here, okay, we're recognizing the fluidity of the budget. This program will be established for years 2025 and 2026 and may be reestablished by the legislature in future years after taking the county's financial standing into consideration. And I'm not saying fund balance, I'm just saying these are county funds. So to me, it doesn't matter where they come from, as long as you guys get them. And I hope that you'll be happy with that.
So one thing I would like to mention is, and maybe it's something that we can discuss with the committee as a whole. But, so you're proposing 5 million and over, so 5 million in 1 year, 2025.
And 2026.
And then another 5 million in 2026.
Mhm.
So I would say if $5 million is not spent in 2025, that goes away, but you get another shot at it in 2020. I mean, surely the towns will be able to figure out how to spend their money.
Sure they will.
Can we hear from everybody before we?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking of that. I just wanted to get it out there. Legislator Manfred.
Sure. So I'd like to begin by reminding my colleagues that back in March, I introduced a resolution proposing a transparent and structured sales tax revenue sharing mechanism that would have proactively and annually supported our towns and villages, ensuring predictability and partnership between the county, the municipalities, and the county executive. Unfortunately, that resolution was not taken up for discussion. Nobody even responded to me, not many people responded to me. So I tried to work collaboratively with the county executive, the municipalities, and the legislature months ago now. But I get it, everybody's working in their own silos. I'd like to see a more productive process. The legislature also needs to engage in these conversations so we can work together. So now we are faced with a resolution that was developed without bipartisan consultation, without input from the county executive's office or the municipalities, and without establishing a recurring process. Only a one-time disbursement based on current surplus. So I'm going to have some questions here. So while I'm glad to see the recognition of our municipal needs, there are serious process and policy concerns. I put 2 resolutions before all of you in March, one for a 1% extension and a meaningful sales tax sharing resolution, and asked for input. Now the clock is ticking. The state legislature session ends on June 13th, 46 days from now. That's really only 34 business days. And if we don't sit down and work together to come to a solution soon, we will miss out on any revenue. And in addition, I hope not, but I believe by not meaningfully sharing sales tax revenue for 2025, or sharing sales tax revenue, period, the towns and villages will most surely have to raise property taxes. They don't have the fund balance that we do. These are our shared constituents. So I have some questions about the resolution in front of us, and with respect, Madam Chair, in the spirit of open and respectful, meaningful dialogue, I'd like to request the opportunity to ask my questions, and before yielding the floor for a healthy and good deliberation. So if I can ask my questions, and I'll let you know when I'm finished. How's that? Okay? Thanks. So first one was answered. The resolution was authored by the chair. I'd like to know based on what, where you got your, I did a lot of research. I have resolutions from other counties throughout the state. What I was asking for them was their resolution that they used for their mechanism for sharing with their towns and villages. Mostly what I got to date was their annual disbursement, which changes every year. Every county, even though they have a sharing mechanism, that formula changes every year. That's a really good formula, and we don't have to decide what it is now. So why was there no process for the county executive's participation in this resolution?
I never received any process for participation in the county executive's resolution.
Well, that's a
So
childish
that's-
way to go about this.
That
We
would-
all
well,
need to work together.
So, exactly, we do need to work together. But, okay, do you want me to answer? Or
I do.
no? Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that goes both ways.
Well, under our
I think-
charter, the county executive is responsible for signing contracts and agreements, so he really needs to be part of this.
Exactly.
So
Does.
we are excluding the county executive
Not in any way,
by
shape, or
being a
form.
part
Just
of
go right to
this
his office.
instrumental effort from the start. So wouldn't including the county executive in planning lead to faster, better, and legally sound outcomes? So we're saying that these funds are coming from the fund balance. We can identify exactly where this 3 million is coming from, just our line item that says the fund balance.
It would be similar to what we were talking about with our outside agencies. We would have an actual line item where the towns could look and they could see the amount of money that they have in their balance, and they would be able to budget based on that amount. So for example, if we were using the $3 million, based on census, which is the best way I know how, Carmel would be getting $1 million. Town of Kent would be getting almost 400,000. Town of Putt Valley would be getting 361,000. Town of Patterson would be getting 354,000, and so on. So it would be listed,
Excuse me,
it
I'm
would
not
be listed
finished.
at the budget item, so they would know exactly how much they come, and they would come and draw it down.
So it has to be certified by the commissioner each time. We're gonna come to a point, maybe, hypothetically, we could come to a point where we have no fund balance. We don't know if there's gonna be FEMA money. We're gonna continue to see storms. The county's possibly going to have to spend down our fund balance in other ways. So I personally like the sales tax sharing. If there's surplus, we share it. If there's not, we don't. It makes sense to me. So I'd like to point out the real world needs that require flexibility for our towns and villages. The current language in this resolution restricts the use for these funds to only capital projects and essential services, but bans salary and personnel. What happens if a town or village is preparing for a major historic event, like we are, where we just needed to allocate funds? Sorry, it's really hard to focus while there's noise in the audience. So you guys can go outside if you want and talk. So what happens if a town or village is preparing for a major historic event, like we are? They need Rev 250 war anniversary, and they need to hire event coordinators, historians, extra garbage removal they would need for a big event like that. That's personnel. These events in our towns attract tourists and raise sales tax. That is sent to us, Putnam County. So what if a town must conduct a full property tax assessment, that they don't have somebody to do that, and they have to hire somebody? That's a one-time, maybe one-year effort, where they have to hire somebody to do that, and they don't have the resources. this money, you're limiting them by saying no personnel. You don't know what the towns need. So why would we deny towns flexibility to meet real time-sensitive needs of their residents? What if a town had to hire an engineer or a consultant for a major infrastructure project and they don't have the funds? All of this is happening now for our towns. So we should trust our local governments. We're sending them the money precisely because they know best what they want and they know best what their communities need. So the fourth, I'd like to propose improvements to this resolution. I'd like to require that the county executive is involved in approving the agreements. I'd like to allow for personnel costs where they are tied to short-term and public needs. And I'd like to see clear reporting and audit requirements. It's a really vague resolution. I'm not sure why my resolution was just disregarded, but I would hope that somebody on this committee could possibly put it forward again. It just calls for 50% of all annual sales tax revenues collected that exceed the amount budgeted for that fiscal year. And guess what that amounts to? That amounts to the $5 million my colleagues were just talking about for this year. Some year maybe there's gonna be no sales tax revenue and we don't have to share it. So while I appreciate the efforts in including our municipalities in the resolution that you wrote, I think it requires a lot more, and I really wish you would have considered my resolution that nobody even commented on in March. And I'd like for somebody to put forward on this committee to put forward the extension of the 1% sales tax again. We still have time. We have 36 days. Pretty soon we're gonna be out of luck.
I'd like to hear from the commissioner. I mean, I'm wondering if you had any comments about including
The only,
salary and payroll and.
yeah, no, I'm not scared of you, no, I'm not scared. I would just caution, you know, and I've said this on record, when we're using the opioid funds or any type of grant funding per se, will the villages and the towns be able to, in the long term, be able to sustain those legacy costs?
Well, hopefully we can put a caveat in there that it's not for legacy costs, it's for the one-time consultation with the engineer or contractor.
I think
that
that
they
is,
need.
that's infrastructure,
Right.
that would be included in infrastructure,
Well,
is that correct?
So the
You're
contracts.
saying it can't be used for personnel, you need somebody, a planner, an engineer, I mean, does it include that? Or does it include just buying stuff and?
If it's for infrastructure, absolutely.
Okay. It
Like
doesn't
if you need a new
specify that.
dam in your town, you have to hire an engineer, and the engineering cost would be part of
Yeah, if
your
it's for
infrastructure cost.
consulting, operational
Yeah.
type of services,
But you can't
then I
hire
would,
6
but I mean, if you're gonna
new,
hire a new engineer, there's gonna be salary and
Right.
fringes, and then there's gonna be legacy costs.
Well, it specifically says no personnel, so I
This is
think,
exactly what the county executive has in his one,
I think,
in his sales
I
tax.
think it
But I
needs to
just,
be
I mean,
clear.
for me, I thought it would be a good idea to discuss something different besides sales tax, because again, it's more, it's better for the towns to be able to know exactly how much they're getting, instead of saying 50% of 1%, maybe we'll get that next year, maybe we won't get that next year, you know.
They have to
It
do that
just
all the
share-
time with the
It's
state.
easier to, it's
They have
easier to
to
budget
face
that
that all
amount,
the
that's your
time.
dollar.
Thank you. So the thing is that with this proposal though, they can't really plan. I mean, they don't know when they're getting the money. So we're in May right now, right? It took, in 2022, when Mary Ellen Odell did this, it took from January to June to implement the procedure to share share the growth, okay? It took 6 months. We're saying we're gonna give now 5 million, 3
2025.
million, whatever it was, it took 6 months. So we're in May. That puts us in
It's not
November.
gonna take 6 months.
I have the floor and I'm speaking. So we still don't have any sort of mechanism of how we're going to do this. In the other proposal, there was a mechanism. We still have, in this, I assume we're gonna need IMAs from everybody, correct? Then they're gonna have to come through committee. They're gonna have to come through physical services. They're gonna have to come through audit and a full, correct? Yep, okay. So where is the time for that? We're saying in 2025, we're gonna give them $5 million, and then if they don't use it, they lose it? So that gives them 1 month, maybe, for us to figure this all out, for them to put
Better
their.
than nothing. and then next year they can get more.
How is one, that's crazy. I mean, at least they can bond out and they can plan for things if they are getting disbursements quarterly and they know and understand what they're getting. If they have to come to us, running to us every single time with every project, how are they ever gonna plan and get things done and appropriately mitigate their issues? It's not giving them a whole lot of relief. It sounds great on paper, but honestly, I never see it leaving sub-contingency. We can move it there now and it'll stay there. It's never going to happen. But there's no process that has been put in front of us. There's nothing there. This is an idea that's fluff, that sounds great, and I want to give all the money to the towns that we can. I would love to. I support them. I support my district. I support all of it. But there has to be a process, and that process is flawed in this. There isn't even a process. At least there is a process in the other one that mainstreams money right to them so they can do what they need to do, again, with being able to bond and being able to plan. And if you spoke to all the supervisors, the county executive, the highway superintendents, that's what they wanted. They wanted to be able to plan, they wanted to be able to do bond, they wanted to be able to figure out their projects for the next however many years we put it in, and hopefully it was something that was a legacy and stayed every single year. And that's what I want to see for them. I want that for them. They deserve that.
Commissioner?
Oh, no, go.
No, I just want to, how do we mainstream the money, just like the proposal from the county executive? What is the difference for our proposal as opposed to using the taxes?
And if I may, the previous, we had all the ARPA restrictions.
Right.
Those restrictions aren't here.
It was very restrictive when our former county executive had, because it was ARPA, it was tied to ARPA funding. This is not tied to ARPA funding. We would have the same rules that were set forth from our county executive, the sales tax sharing. I think it's safer, and we have a $90 million fund balance. And why will it be more restrictive, and why is it gonna be harder to do in mainstream, the money? Do you see?
It was quarterly the other way,
Reason
this
why?
way would have to be presented each project.
Commissioner
I
response.
mean, I guess I'm gonna, I'll
Yes.
defer to the legislature, but I mean, this right before you was like a hybrid of
Right.
ARPA and sharing the sales tax, so the growth. I mean, we'd have to get into more finite details on how the procedures. I mean, I'm assuming that, you guys would want to see what type of projects these towns and villages are doing. I'm assuming that they have capital plans, 5-6-year capital plans, so they should be able to, whip up something pretty quick. I'm sure
Yeah, to be able to fund it.
Supervisor Anabi probably already has it. So, but, all kidding aside, that's what it'd be. And I would think that you'd want it as almost like a grant reimbursement as well. So they would have to spend the money, it would then come to us, we would just make sure that money is being, appropriated.
That's what we had proposed
If
at one
I may.
point, and it was
Look,
decided that we weren't gonna do
I wanna
it.
make this as simple and as easy as possible for all the towns. I don't wanna make this overly complicated. You guys know what you need. I'm gonna call it a wish list. Send a wish list.
Why don't we hear from them and see what they have to say?
I'm just saying is, but you know what you need, and I wanna find a way to get that to you as quickly and as unencumbered as possible.
Can I ask a question?
Commissioner Goldman, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. In theory, I like the idea of sharing sales tax with the municipalities. Each community throughout Putnam County has problems, whether it's roads, bridges, dams, their infrastructure needs money to take care of because each town and village does not have the sources to get that money. In theory, it works, but there's a lot of things that are out of our control, which I've mentioned many times before. For example, today we just heard that 1,787,000 we're short. In the first quarter of this year, we're short 1,700,000. Multiply that times 4, it's a lot of money. Right now, we have a 3% sales tax. We couldn't come to an agreement. 3% sales tax is $20 million lost to the county. If we have 0.25%, which we discussed, that's $5 million. Plus, we give $3 million, $5 million to the towns and municipalities throughout the county. where is this money gonna come from? I know, oh, we have a lot of money, we have $90 billion, $1 million, whatever the case may be. But that money's gonna disappear very quickly. What are we gonna do then? Sorry towns, sorry residents, you know, we're gonna have to raise your taxes. What? It's a problem. So we really should think through this process out and not jump so quickly at this, because we have to really figure out where this money's gonna come from before we disperse it.
Can I just ask Commissioner a question? So, we have before us our additional, which was based on a $3 million allotment to the towns. What would be the difference as opposed to 3 million, 5 million? What is the 1/9 of 1%? What would that estimate? Because we don't know for sure.
2.4 million.
Yeah,
What's that?
2.4 million.
2.4
Or
million.
293,000.
And that would be next year,
Correct,
after doing the calculations,
correct,
based on this year's sales tax.
correct.
Okay. Legislator?
But is this
any
next
of you?
year or this year?
This is for this
This is
year.
2025.
Yes.
Yep, we don't have
This
any
year.
process in place, so what is the
Well,
process?
that's what we're discussing.
That's why we're discussing
It's
it.
for discussion, that's what we're discussing.
I'm
We can create a process. And
Well,
I
that's
think-
what I think before we put anything through, that, I mean, we need a process, like the towns need to understand, and villages, I think we need to let them understand,
This is
like.
something that could go to the law department and we could come up with it, with.
But the whole thing is that we had all of them sign on to something.
Would you prefer to wait?
Yeah, why don't we hear from them?
Can we?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Legislator Russo, you haven't spoken. yet.
So, through the chair, I'm not sure if this is illegal or for Commissioner Lewis. Is there something that we need to do to make this happen outside of the budget process?
Well, if this is for 25, you've already done the 25. We've already done the 25 budget.
Yeah.
So if it's for 26, that's a different story.
So is there like something
So like
that,
if, let's just say you wanted to propose $3 million, $5 million, whatever, that would be a use of fund balance. This is already, we're already into it, so that's where the budgetary would come in. We would take it from our reserves and give it to the towns and villages,
Unassigned fund balance.
unassigned.
That's sitting in our checking account.
Correct.
Our savings account.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'd like to hear from the public, if anybody would like to come up. Again, you know the drill. Welcome.
Yes, we do know the drill, thank you. Catherine Foley, I'm the mayor in the village of Cold Spring. A few things. First of all, I just want to say you're welcome for all of the years that we've sent sales tax and never asked you to tell us how you're spending it.
Mayor,
So you're welcome.
can you speak up, Mayor?
I was saying that I'd like to say thank you to the legislature for taking our sales tax for years and years and years and never telling us how they're spending it. So you're welcome for our flexibility for your spending. What I am concerned about with this, there are a few things. First of all, I like the idea of getting money this year. I like the idea of getting money next year in set amounts. Would be phenomenally helpful to all of us. I want to understand what hoops you're going to make us jump through to do that, right? So we're giving you money. Last week, Mr. Yankee called it a handout. You're giving us money, but it's never that simple. So how are you asking us to give money? We've said to you from the beginning, from way back in March and April, please do not impose on us a grant-based process where we have to come back and beg you for the money that was generated in our communities. Having us go through what the district attorney went through tonight is bonkers. It's our money. We're begging you to give us back our money. I love the idea of 5. Another thing that concerns me here, whether it's 3 or 5, is there's no floor here. What we negotiated, all of us together, was that there would be a minimum amount distributed. There's no minimum here. So I have about 2,000 people. Mayor Winward has about 600 people. What happens without a floor?
35,000 at 3 million for Mayor Windward. instead of 50.
Now, I can see both sides of this argument, taking the benefit of taking out of the general fund versus taking out of sales tax. But I also would like to just reiterate that we have to understand, before you drive through this, we need to understand what it is you're asking of us in terms of documentation, et cetera. Because ARPA was a nightmare,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And asking to come back to you through committee is a nightmare.
Yeah.
We don't ask you to come to us to tell us how you're spending the other 3% of the sales tax. So we shouldn't have to come back to you on that. But I would also like to make one more point. There has been discussion about employee lines, personnel, et cetera. All of us already have been through a conversation together in the towns and villages and said we're okay with it being for public uses that do not include personnel. That was a compromise we were willing to make, so please don't let that hold us up, the nitpicking about that. The money for infrastructure offsets and public purposes offsets a huge amount of other things. So what is the mechanism? Yes, we'll take 5 million this year and 5 million next year, and then how are you setting up a mechanism that's sustainable over time based on tax sharing?
Yep.
Sales tax sharing.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, we're not,
That was sales tax sharing, she said.
this is, you need to move your thinking from sales tax to tonight is surplus.
I'm talking about sales tax 2 years from now, after you give us the general fund money. I'm talking about 3 years from now, coming back to sales tax.
Okay, I see, okay.
Can I just,
You got
Could I
it,
just-
Suzanne.
can I just answer that? I have an idea, because that should be in the budget process and put into the budget
That's what
by
I
the
said
county
earlier.
executive or whoever is the county executive at the time.
Hi, I'm very happy tonight that you've, thought about this and went back to the drawing board. Just quickly, to what the mayor said, you're not gonna hire employees with this. Put this into, maybe one of your buildings needs a new roof, a truck. I'm very interested in the paving part of it. A paved road done properly should last 15 to 20 years. A good truck taken care of properly, 15 to 20 years, 10 to 15 years. And then Bill was asking what's gonna happen next year. Well, 15 years now, there'll be all new legislators, there'll be more taxes brought in, and you just repeat the cycle. But the big part of it is sharing. And we're all elected officials. We know, we get audited by the state. We know what to do with our money. We're not like a bunch of teenagers who are sending out, when they first got their driver's license, and so we know where it goes best, and that's it. I mean, I get my CHIPS money every year, and that fluctuates up and down. We're not sure what we're going to get this year, but we're trusted with that, and I basically got a bunch of FEMA recovery money from the storms in 2023, $1.5 million. I'm getting questioned by that with the auditors. They wanted to see a $21.35 receipt. What I bought, I think it was a shovel or something they wanted to. They really put us through the coals. So we're responsible people. So, as my father used to tell me, put my brain in my back pocket and get to work. Don't complicate something that's not complicated. Break out the checkbook, write the checks tonight, and we'll be all set. But we know what to do with it. And thank you.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Navi from the town of Putnam Valley. First, I'm glad to see that you're thinking about 3 million or 5 million. We'll take it. We'll take it this year, absolutely. But what you're asking is not sustainable. The proposal in front of you that 9 of us signed, that we signed with the county executive, that we discussed with our state legislators, that's sustainable. That funding goes side by side with that 1% extender. With that 1% extender that the county gets, we get 1/9. That will happen at all times. We understand that it fluctuates. That's why we know it's 1/9 of that 1%. And we're okay with that. That helps us get our bonds. That helps us get our budget. We know this. But the 5 million that we are talking about for this year, it's not sustainable. We can't do anything. We can do great stuff this year.
And next year.
And next year, if we use up the first 5 million, well, for my town, it's like 300,000. But that's great. It's fantastic. And yes, Commissioner, I do have the plans in place already. But
I knew you did.
we need something that's sustainable. We aren't all gonna be here in a few years. So we need to make sure that our future town are already set, that they know they're gonna get the sales tax sharing. It's great that you guys wanna do it this year and for next year, but what happens when you guys are all gone and we're all gone? We need to make sure that our future is set, and that 1% extender, the sales tax sharing from that 1% makes it sustainable. And as for sharing outside of the budget, I'd like to ask council, how is that possible? Can you legally do that? There's gotta be a lot of hoops.
Through the chair, I believe what Ms. Naldi is talking about is if the funds are in surplus and they're in fact certified by the county executive, then the legislature would be able to portion them as they want.
Correct.
Through the chair, it might actually be appropriate to have the independent auditors present the 2024 fiscal results, and then soon thereafter disperse the money.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Thank you.
I had a question, I can't remember what it is now. I'll think of it. I'll write things down.
Thank you for entertaining our conversation tonight, and I'm
I'm
pleased to know that we have the attention of both the
Absolutely.
county executive and the county legislature. So I've been involved with the town budget for 15 years at this point, and I went back and I'm saying, how are we, all the towns, scratching pennies together to try to make our budget, and you guys are sitting on 90, I don't know what the budget surplus is, but it's because you got sales tax. It's a revenue we don't have. We're all in the same business, basically, of providing services with our income. We don't have that income line. Your proposal tonight is wonderful. None of us are gonna leave here saying we don't want the 5 million. But I think it gives us an opportunity to catch up. We're catching up for the years that you weren't sharing. So it gives us 2 years, so 25 and 26. And then in 27, there needs to be a process established to share the sales tax. I don't know if there's a mechanism for the county to charge the 3.75, assign the 0.25% to the towns and villages in a proposal. We have 2 years to do it. It's very similar to item 18 with the mortgage rebate tax. We have to, estimate what that's gonna be each year. We put a target number in based on years past. So I'm thrilled that we finally have the attention of both the county executive and the county legislature. I don't know what the difference is this year, but it's happening. We're kind of like a pawn in the middle of this, but I'm thrilled that we're getting something. Of course, we'd like to leave with 5 million, and like Richard said, we'll take the checks on the way out. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask the county commissioner, I've heard a few times people talk about there's going to be another legislature or there'll be another county executive, and we're not sure how they'll vote. But how often do we vote on the sales tax?
Well, I think you propose it for 3 years, but it's been 2 years.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear him say that. So we vote, so every 2 years, this legislature is gonna vote on sales tax. So 2 years, there could be another legislature who wants a 0 increase in the sales tax extender. So we're talking 2 years for $5 million, 1 year, and the next year.
But what is the
We don't know.
mechanism to explain it to these people so that they understand what hoops they
That
have
is
to jump
something
through?
that has to be hashed out with our legal law department.
But how long is that gonna take?
Go ahead,
I don't see it ever.
There's a couple of things. I guess just me being a former auditor, and if we were to write a $5 million check to these 9 municipalities, they will definitely ask us, what you're spending it on. So, maybe it doesn't have to be as rigorous as the ARPA, but I think that they should have a wish list of, they're gonna do this road, this culvert, this, so at least we have something.
And that would have to go through committee.
Put the money out.
Yeah, they have to do an IMA, right? Traditionally,
Yes.
IMAs would have to be done. Then they'd have to go through each committee, physical, audit, and full, yes? That's the way it's always been done.
Well, if we're writing a check for $5 million,
No.
it has to be,
No,
we have to know where it's going.
He's saying because it was audited, we would be audited, they'd wanna know what it's for.
Correct.
So the way to do it would be an IMA, and then it would have to go through each committee for every single project, right?
Correct.
That's what he's saying. So that's essentially, there's the process, guys, so that's your process. For
Carmel
each
can-
thing, you'd have to jump
They
through all
they
those
should be
hoops.
able to provide us a project budget.
I think they'd have to do that with sales tax sharing as well.
Nope,
Yeah.
it was,
Well,
no,
that
it
you
was
don't know.
not. It was every quarter through the comptroller, it was going to be dispensed and sent out. That was what the compromise
So for the town of
was.
Carmel, for $1 million, they would have 6 projects, or 2 projects they would have.
As
They'd
long
come
as
in,
you
ask
don't
for $1
have to
million,
reimburse.
and then,
Because we can't lay out the money that we
Yeah,
don't have.
That's,
Right.
yeah, you guys need it up front.
okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, we'll have public comment here. Go
All
ahead,
right.
John.
Good evening, I'm Sean Boyd, Town of Kent Councilman. Ladies and gentlemen of the legislator, thank you for letting me speak. Most of my questions are going to be Commissioner, if you could help me out with this. So our budget for the county was about 160 million per year? Or
205 million.
205 million, okay. And so we have a $90 million surplus budget. So the average counties in New York State run, what, about a 10 to 15%?
Correct.
Of there. And then, so, obviously we want to make sure that our credit rating is good, for like Moody's. What do they generally like for fund balance?
The common practice is usually anywhere between 10 to 20%.
A little higher, right, of course. So, we could spend 30 million out of that, 90 million fairly easily. Okay, so instead of using basically the sales tax, which is unpredictable, we use $30 million and we distribute it over 5 years. Now, the supervisors have already come up with an agreement, basically a ratio of how they're gonna split the monies through the sales tax already. So we already have a basic agreement for that. By doing the 30 million over 5 years, it's gonna give us a consistent amount of money given out during that time period, a 5-year time period. Just some numbers, Town of Kent would get $1 million a year for that first 5 years, and I have the other towns that's calculated out. But we could use that right away. The Town of Kent has 2 water districts, a sewer district that are desperate for money today, and we can consistently see that money come in over a 5-year period if we were to give that money away in that manner. Don't worry about the sales tax, collect the 1%, we need that 20 million, on there. I would also say that sales tax reduction isn't gonna help very many people. It's a small amount of property. Tax reduction isn't gonna be very good either, because really the elephant in the room on that is school tax. And that's a whole different story, I'm not gonna get into that. So, there wouldn't be a very good advantage for people right away as compared to like giving us 30 million over 5 years. We can reliably spend that money. Thank you.
I think the Commissioner had a comment on some of that.
I would, sorry. I just, being conservative, I would caution everyone that we still don't know what the feds are gonna do. And if the feds cut programs, it'll trickle down to the state, and then they're gonna trickle down to us. So I don't think we can just, right now,
For 30 million.
$30 million.
Yeah.
And I would also
Very
like,
impressive.
and I would also like to point out, okay, that, we talk about sales tax, about the surplus. We have a systemic problem with hiring and retaining. And I've run the numbers over the last few years, and we have left about $8 to $9 million per year, okay, because we can't hire anybody. We have 53 vacancies right now. On average, it's about $150,000 per employee. And if you do the math, that's $8 million right there. So that's also part of the problem. So we're budgeting, we're leaving 8 to 9 million on the table, in addition to having, inflation with this inflated sales tax. That's why the undesignated has risen over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
That's the real reason.
Because of the vacancies.
And hence, that's why we're having a career expo.
I see, okay. Legislator Elmer.
But just to clarify for everybody, what the Commissioner's saying is leaving it on the table, that's $8 to $9 million of cost to the county that can be cut if we were able to hire these people. This is $8 to $9 million of unnecessary overtime. So you combine that with last year, we put 11, which it's gonna be 8, we'll know in a month or two with the auditors, but pretty decent projections, between $8 and $12 million we didn't spend last year, okay? So, we're not gonna be drawing this thing down like crazy. And that's why my suggestion was do at least 2 years at this time and then review. And the other thing is, make this as simple as possible. You know what you need your funds. My feeling is, I wanna get you your funds, and I wanna get you your funds quickly and efficiently. Because you know what's gonna happen, after you get them, you're gonna find you can have other good uses for them. Now, I think it was Mayor Foley said something about a minimum. Okay, I just ran a spreadsheet here. The only village which would be under the minimum as of now is Nelsonville, which would be 30,000. Cold Spring, based on this proposal, would be 100,000. Kent, 660,000. Putnam Valley, 600,000 for each of 2 years. And the other thing here is, let's be realistic, this idea if you don't spend it, this isn't ARPA. The reason that should be in there is to incentivize you to go out and start spending. But all I can always say for myself, if you say, hey, we couldn't spend it for this year, I wouldn't be adverse to rolling the money over for next year.
So then, through the chair, so then I think that resolution, I think we've had a lot of good ideas in this room, but I think that if that's not what was said before earlier in the resolution, it was use it or lose it, that's why I said that brings us to November, and they're gonna have a month to spend the money, and that's not realistic, going through the mechanism that it is. So if we could come up with a mechanism that gets dispersed quarterly, that they can count on the money every quarter, and come up with something like that, and a number that we all agree upon through a revenue service, whether it's the general fund or whether it's sharing taxes, whatever it is, but I think we all need to figure out what that is and get the sales tax rate set as well, and then come up with a sustainable resolution. Because they told us what they want sustainability, they want something they can count on quarterly, where they don't have to come running back to us with every project. They can send us a quarterly, report, and we can go from there. And that's what they want, and that's what they deserve.
Why handcuff them quarterly? Why not monthly? I'm saying is the whole point is to get the money.
Yeah, we
Okay,
have public comment. We're eating into public comment time.
Sorry.
Hi, guys.
Councilman Russo.
Sorry.
Christian Russo, Putnam Valley. Thank you for letting me speak.
Congressman Russo.
First of all, I love the $5 million idea, so that would be great. But also, I just want to sort of talk about that. The towns, we really need a sustainable source of revenue. Getting these, like a one-time payout would be fantastic, as somebody said. That would help us catch up a little bit. But we sort of need the same sort of treatment that the county gets from the state. The legislature shares the tax with you guys. So how can the county legislature ask the state legislature to give sales tax support, but not let the state legislature share with the towns and the villages? We really need a sustainable source of support, not just a temporary grant. It really matters. Are you going to extend the sales tax increase back to the 4%? Because if you don't do that, this isn't going to be sustainable. I mean, right now we're set to go back to a 3% sales tax, and that's a lot of revenue loss right now. So I ask, what's the plan moving forward? Like, where are we going with this? Because the towns, we really do need to look past just next year. Long term, we'd love to have this sales tax sharing because it will really help us for years to come. So I'm asking, what's the plan moving forward with the sales tax rate?
There's a bill in the House, the Senate and the Assembly, that
far as
right now.
Sales tax is concerned, that's what I was getting at before, is it's voted on every 2 years, possibly 3 years, so that could change.
Okay.
I mean, that could change in 2 or 3 years based on the sales tax. So this is kind of the same thing. We're still offering the 2 years.
But if you don't
and it could be reinstated. Exactly, it could be reinstated.
Right now, 2 years from now, there's not going to be the funding available.
Oh, there's going to be funding available.
You don't know. I mean, it's
Yeah,
right there.
we don't know.
The number is $22 million a year estimate. $22 million a year loss if you go back to 3% right now. It's tremendous. And so that's it. That's all I'm asking. What is the plan? How are we going to do this long term?
Thank you. I think this is a great discussion, it's just different ideas, so I appreciate it. Go ahead,
One more
Mayor Foley.
comment, just for your consideration. For small municipalities like Nelsonville and Cold Spring, those small amounts of money, if we can't roll them over, please tell me what I'm gonna do for $30,000, right? We have to be able to build up the money if we're getting it in very small increments. So that floor is important, but also the ability for municipalities to hold the funds in their own accounts, not coming and begging, but hold them in our own accounts so that we can work toward bigger projects. Nelsonville's gonna need a long time to get to anything meaningful at 30,000.
That's great consideration, thank you for that. Thank you. Legislator Montgomery.
Just curious how this is going to work if, we say we pass this resolution tonight.
I think it doesn't sound like it's
Say you
passable.
move, say you move
this evening.
forward,
But, yeah, go ahead.
The county executive vetoes it. Okay, there's that possibility, right? So there's no possibility, I think the county executive would approve something like this if we extended the sales tax to 1%, that temporary 1%. So we're not likely to do that by the May 6th meeting. I don't see that. We've been through this since February, March. We haven't done it. So then that leaves us with doing it by the June 3rd meeting, and then we're at 3%.
The special's next Monday
Yeah,
for the sales
we're gonna
tax.
be voting again on,
Monday.
Monday.
But they're separate issues.
yeah, that's why we wanna separate the issues, so that we can make sure we get the town's money.
They're not, separate them.
It doesn't, I don't
Makes
see
sense.
separating them.
Anyway, go ahead, we're in public comment now.
So I'm Nick Durante. I'm actually gonna talk twice. One, as a resident. As a resident of Putnam County, I wouldn't mind seeing a tax break, but logically, I'd rather see it stay where it is than in 2 or 3 years say, we gotta raise your taxes again because we lowered them. So as a resident, if it stays the same, I'm good with that, and we're not taking any risks. As the supervisor of Southeast, I have to say, if you guys are gonna give us money, we're taking it. One of the legislators asked me what the plan is with the money. I've only been here a year and a half, we've lost 3 building department secretaries because we can't offer enough money for someone to live a life in Southeast, and that's awful. I know that the sheriff's gone, but we would love to see more sheriffs. There's definitely places all this money can go. I just feel like we gotta put it together. I understand that, there's maybe some sort of pride or some other things that go on, but we gotta work together and figure it out. Because I'm not gonna talk numbers, because that would get me in trouble. But I know that the other 4 people on the Southeast Town Board, we do not agree all the time. But we work it out because we're looking out for everybody else. So I know you guys got it where it's supposed to be. Just please bring it together so we don't miss the date either. I know that could be catastrophic to us. I do have to leave. I just wanted to say a little piece. And thank you for, keeping at it and keep going. Thank you.
Any other public
I'm
comment?
sorry, speaking on behalf of Jamie McGlasson, she wasn't able to be here, so she just asked me to say a few things. So Jamie McGlasson, who's the supervisor from Kent, said that she really prefers it to stay at 4% for the same reason. She said she understands that you're saying that you have to vote on it every 2 years. However, it's still sustainable because the money that they're bringing in at 1/9 of the 1%, and we, whether it's us or not, bringing it down to 3% is not sustainable for the county. No matter who the legislators are here, if any commissioner of finance, if he's not here, or any attorney advises the legislator to bring the sales tax to 3%, the county cannot afford it. The towns can't afford it because that burden now goes onto the towns. The towns can't afford community college, the towns can't afford to pay for the elections, the county can't pay for a lot of these things that the towns can't pay for a lot of these expenses that the county pays for with that 4%. getting 1/9 of that 1% keeps the town sustainable, keeps the county sustainable, you're able to lower the property tax, and we can lower the property tax by doing projects from that money that we are accounting in, coming in from the sales tax revenue. Now, that's on behalf of Jamie, but I put my 2 cents in there as well.
Okay.
I have a comment, if I may. My name is Pat Sheehy. I'm not an elected official, but for many years I have felt that we should be sharing sales tax revenues with the taxpayers. And I'm really thrilled that there is this discussion going on. But I have a question, first of all. Is the surplus, the $90 million surplus?
It's not surplus, it's fund balance.
It's fund balance.
Fund balance, okay. Is that used for contingency? Or is there a separate contingency?
You could use, when we're doing our budget process, we analyze the undesignated fund balance, and then we make recommendations that'll go before the legislature on how much we're gonna use.
Is there a separate contingency fund?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
So, but if that gets used up and you need to go into more, you would go into it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a little, maybe saddened to hear that we're only talking about sharing $5 million.
It's 3 million, that's honestly.
3 million, yeah, well, 3, 5, whatever. I think, to me, it feels a little low. I kind of understand why you're doing that, because it's more in line with the revenue per year that the county receives. But not to be, well, I'll just say it. If the money has been hoarded for years, and there's, quotes, $90 million sitting somewhere, I think what Councilman Floyd said about splitting up the 30 million seems to be more where I would be looking for it to go. I understand what the commissioner said about maybe not being able to do it right now. So if you have to go with the 3 or the 5 or whatever now, but looking forward, sharing some of that surplus that, I'll say it again, has been hoarded over the years, I think would A, be a good thing, and B, you know, we're only like one of 11 or 12 counties throughout the state of New York, which has like 64 counties, that isn't sharing the sales tax revenues. And I'm feeling a little bit tonight like this is a kind of like a kitchen table budgeting discussion. I think it's much bigger than that, and I think if there's, you know, what, 50-something counties throughout the state that have a process in place, in my mind's eye, I think you should be really looking at what they're doing to share the sales tax revenues and really studying it and coming up with a proposal, maybe not for this year, but for the future, on what it should look like.
Thank you.
I have a question for the commissioner.
Legislator Elmer has a question for the commissioner.
Commissioner Lewis, one of the things that Putnam County does is we make all the school districts whole every year.
Correct.
So approximately how many tens of millions of dollars do we pay to add to all the school districts countywide?
A lot. I don't know if that's off the top of my head.
I know that Haldane was averaging 2.2 million a year, and Carmel was a lot higher than that. So one of the things that we have to factor into all these discussions is the payable, if you will, that the county has for making all the school districts whole.
Towns and villages.
I can only speak for my town. Carmel has a very, very high receivable. They're better than 90%, but the school is where the big money goes. So that's something that has to get factored in, and that can go up also.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, we have public comment, and then I'll take a legislator Montgomery.
You can go.
No, go ahead. I just have questions. More questions.
Glad that even though Diane's not here, the purple pen is.
Okay.
I'll be brief. I just have 2 points, and if I could just get some latitude from the chair to just speak on something that was in the first ledge meeting very quickly, if I can. The special full ledge that was held before this committee meeting, just a very brief comment, if I may.
Okay.
Just wanted to congratulate Don and just for being able to get through. I want to thank the legislature for doing the right thing. I think the takeaway from this whole process, and I know many of the legislators here feel this way now, having seen how the Supreme Court case has played out and that whole process, these decisions really do affect real lives, real families. You saw that they were here with their young son today. For half his life, they've been fighting this battle. So I would just continue to ask you guys to consider those things. I know you are, I know you have. But something for you guys to keep in mind. These decisions affect real everyday people, real everyday families. And that's actually going to be my segue into this conversation. You guys are hearing from the town supervisors. We've been all together since February having this conversation, since the supervisors wrote that joint letter back, I think it was February 11th or 12th. And so, you know, the thing that has stuck out to me as a resident through this entire process, I've spoken on this here, you know, several times now, the lack of communication. The lack of communication. What we're seeing here, what we're listening to from the town supervisors, from the legislature, all the way to the county executive, is everyone's having these conversations in their own little bunkers, their own little silos. And so the supervisors come in here prepared to have these conversations under an assumption, not knowing that there's going to be these opportunities. And so I think what's frustrating as a resident watching the government as a whole, this is not just a legislature problem, okay, is that these conversations aren't happening in a way that can yield to a quick and efficient decision. This is the exact inefficiency people talk about when they look at government as a whole. And so what I would just, you know, first of all, I want to applaud the legislature, the legislators today at DCO and Legislator Elner for putting forth such a robust proposition. I think the town supervisors have all said it's something they have to seriously consider. That's a step in the right direction. But we could already have completed this journey if these conversations were happening in a more collaborative way with all of the stakeholders present. That doesn't fall on the legislature. I'm not putting that on you guys. But here you guys are stuck to now have this conversation in your own silo to try to catch up. And now we have this situation where everybody is trying to figure out the people, the stakeholders involved who need this money, because their residents need this money. We need this money, okay? And so now they're stuck wondering, who are we getting it from? Where's it going? Now we gotta talk about mechanisms. This all could have been hashed out when we first were having these conversations on February 19th. I only know that date because it's the first time I had the opportunity to speak in front of you guys. But that's how long this conversation's been going on. But it's been multiple conversations in multiple different bunkers, in multiple different silos. That has never worked. It doesn't work in Washington, it doesn't work in Albany, it's not working here in Putnam. So, again, I want to make clear, this is not a rebuke on you guys. This is just about the way this government is operating as a whole right now. It is not looking like a partnership. It is looking like a battleground every time these things come up. And I would ask that everybody involved, including people not in this room, put their swords away and get the job done for the people that matter, because they got to come here and now they're weighing 2, 3, 4 different proposals. Let's get one good proposal, get everybody in the same room, and have a good conversation that comes to a good result that everybody's happy with. That's what the people want. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? We're on public comment. I don't want to leave.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Alex Sewell. I'm from Kent. Very tired, I'm sorry. I would just like to comment on the item of the 1% tax decrease. As a resident and a citizen, I'm not going to care if I get taxed 2 cents more on my eggs. What I care about is the fact that our towns are funded by property tax of our homeowners, that we can't build because we're a majority watershed. There's very little room for commercial industrial expansion. I don't know why that was brought up. I'm happy to see some movement tonight on sales tax revenue sharing, both, you know, tied to that with the town's agreement with the county executive and also the different proposals put forth tonight. I really hope everybody comes together and makes a series of decisions, because the town's both excited for this money, and also we very much need it. You know, people can't keep seeing increases year after year coming only from them without support, seeing roads collapse and culverts back up, and it's not sustainable. So thank you for your time and your interest in all these different avenues you're exploring to try to get this money back to the towns. We appreciate it. The town people appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? I think I promised Legislator McCormick.
I just have some more questions. We're in May here, and again, if we do this in the way this resolution has been established, it will require inter-municipal agreements with each town. It will require us passing a local law or resolution. We have the law department here. Just wondering, I mean, I know from my experience in working through IMAs with towns in the county, it's taken more than 6 months. It's taken sometimes a year. So just curious to see how that's gonna happen. No disrespect to the law department. You guys are very overworked and understaffed like every department in the county. But I don't know, can I put you on the spot through the chair to say,
Well, I can tell you.
how long will all of these 6 IMAs take?
Nine.
Nine, sorry.
We have one attorney in the law department and a DS who handles all of the contracts. So that means she's gonna have to be in charge of all of the contracts that she regularly handles, and then draft up the 9 separate IMAs, negotiating with each of the towns separately, then getting them before the legislature. I can't give you a time frame, unfortunately.
Should be Friday, right?
Probably by next week.
I understand, I
but-
knew this, I just wanted to
Yes, just
make
to
that
emphasize.
point,
Yes.
and it's a very important point, and I would like to also make the point that with the shared sales tax, you're not required to have an intermunicipal agreement with the towns, it can just be allocated. So we have, I would really like, you know, someone on this committee to propose the shared sales tax revenue mechanism, again, whether it's the county executives that he worked out with the towns and villages, whether it's mine, where it's shares 50%, I have copies for everyone here, if you wanna add it as additional. We can move this forward tonight, because time is of the essence, and then maybe you'd reconsider the 1% at some point, understanding what the grave fiscal issue is happening in our country and in our funding. So again, 36 days to do this, we have 1 meeting left to either stay with the 3% or approve the 1% extension, and then we'd have a mechanism to share whether it's 3 million, 5 million, share 50% of the surplus, which I have right here, or go ahead with the county executive's agreement that he had with the municipalities. But we don't have to have the law department expend all of their energy. We know how long that takes, no disrespect. We don't have to rely on any of that if we just share the surplus sales tax.
Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairwoman. All right. The legal counsel, a few minutes ago, said that the legal process is to first distribute the surplus funds. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, in the charter, so the term that I had used is certification of the funds. And that's a requirement in our charter before it can get moved. And actually, the commissioner could probably explain it better. But it first has to get certified by the county executive before the legislature can then transfer the funds.
It's first gotta get certified by the comptroller, then the county executive, and then us.
So can I make a motion, please?
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the sales tax revenue sharing between Putnam County, the original one, for the 1%, with the 1% increase, the 1/9, only because, and just hear me out, only because there seems like a lot that needs to be worked out. So at least if we get this moving and get it to the full, they know they're gonna get something. We have the full on Monday for the 4%, to hopefully move it to the 4%. And then we know it's going to be quarterly, and it's a step in the right direction. We have the budget process coming up. Then if we decide to change the mechanism, we can do it in that capacity. But at least this gives them something right now and moves it to the fall. And we can change it at the full if we'd like to the percentage, but it's streamlined, it's quarterly, there is no IMAs, there is no towns running back to us every other month and jumping through hoops and red
Excuse me,
tape.
are you making a motion or are we having a discussion?
Oh, I'm making a motion, and sorry, Mr. Elner. No second?
No second.
Okay, I tried.
So we're gonna move right, we're not talking about the 1% tonight, we're talking
No,
about
this was about the
possible,
That wasn't about the 1%, this was about the the sheriff's tax sale, and the 1/9. That was what I just proposed. So it was starting the conversation to get it to the full so they could get something. It wasn't.
this was an alternative, that's not based on sales tax. And
With no
it's my
mechanism.
firm belief that we shouldn't link them together. I don't think the towns will get, like I said before, it's not, I've said from the very beginning that the sales tax extension has nothing to do with the ability to share sales tax with the towns.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I think they're two separate arguments. I think we can share with the towns, but I don't know why it has to be linked to the sales
I
tax.
don't know why you wanna lose $22 million.
We're not gonna lose $22 million. We have another full that's scheduled for next Monday that we will be voting on extending the sales tax. So that has nothing to do with our discussions tonight. I would just like to explore another opportunity, $3 million, $5 million.
We can change the number at the full
Sales.
on this. That doesn't, this isn't solid. It's just a starting point. It just gets it to the full.
We're just asking you to approve the 1/9.
Approve the 1/9% to get it to the full, to give them what they want, and there's the mechanism for quarterly
I don't-
deposits. We can change the amount. That can
Tonight
be
is only
changed.
a discussion for the surplus
Well,
sharing
I'm
for the
proposing that
towns
we
and
move it
villages.
forward.
We're discussing this.
We've
I'm
been
not gonna
discussing it
discuss,
for
I'm not gonna discuss
hours.
another resolution
God
when we
forbid.
have one in front of us. That's a whole another hour of
That's not on the
discussion.
agenda, is it?
So right now, we're just gonna talk about this. This obviously is not
backup.
ready to go. This obviously doesn't have full support of the legislature. There's a lot more discussion that we can do, and there's more discussion that we can work on with the law department to get a more concrete resolution before us. It is on here for discussion. So with that, I am going to move on to agenda item number 21, and we're gonna get legislator Birmingham back in.
Are you still awake?
Yeah.
Just an amount, the amount can change. It was just the
I don't
mechanism
have that
was
in front of
there.
me, and I'm not willing to make, that on the fly right now. I know, that's not
Whatever. I just don't think the other way is feasible.
sales tax?
You stick around afterwards? Can you stick around afterwards?
And we would eliminate that for the discussion on it. But we're gonna continue on with
Raise taxes.
Yeah. The guardrail and property damage, is an FYI. It's a confidential item. Please review it and make sure it is shut. Item number 22 is other business. We have no other business before us this evening. I'll move on to item number 23. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Bye.